questions before I conclude. Number one, Simon Gathoni said, police are not our friends. We also have weapons. We can use them. Maj was right. Yes, police of Kenya have demonstrated, at least the majority of them, that they are not our friends, that they are serving a tyrant and they are harming us. And it is not in our place to fall into the trap of arming ourselves to confront them. Because when you do that, you may have to form an army to fight them. We don't have time, we don't have the resources, we don't have the arms. They will just pick us one at a time, and it will actually serve their interest in the sense that they can now say we are violent, we are chaotic, we are anarchists. And the world and the press will more than happily champion that trumpet. We cannot give them that. We have to remain peaceful, we have to remain organized, we have to remain fearless, and it is through that we are going to wear them down. Just like many other countries have gained and won a revolution peacefully by being unarmed. They did so in France in 1789. They did so in Sweden in 1809. They did so in Norway in 1814. They did so in the Netherlands in 1848. They did so in Austria in 1918. They did so in Turkey or Turkey in 1923. There was a mixture of that and armed struggle in Cuba in 1959. They did so in Portugal in 1974. They did so in Bahrain in 1971. They did so in Spain in 1978. They did so in Philippines in 1986. They did so in South Korea in 1987. They did so in Poland, where it was basically the workers protesting continuously for years in 1988. They did so in the Czech Republic in 1989. They did so in East Germany in 1989. They did so in Romania in 1989. They did so in Indonesia in 1998. They did so in Serbia in the year 2000. They did so in Georgia the year 2003. They did so in Nepal in 2006. They did so in Myanmar with mixed results in 2011 because the military eventually overthrew the revolutionaries. But they succeeded in 2011. They did so in Ukraine in 2014. And they recently did so in uh, the Philippines again. And this history of resistance has always resulted in the country becoming more developed, more prosperous, more industrialized, and the standard of living of the people have always been better from the regime that was replaced. So we can do it too. People were asking me on X, oh, Miguna, all the examples you've given are not in Africa. Kenya is going to be the first African country to do it. We can be the first. Why shouldn't we? All these countries and peoples that I have listed were not born in Pluto. They were not in Jupiter. They were on planet Earth. And so we can do it too. The next question was by Plusman. Memoranda to a president that has been impeached, a president that Kenyans have recalled, is not necessary. No, we are not going to have a memoranda to any president, the illegitimate president Ruto. Our memoranda and memorandum is on the streets of the Republic of Kenya. He knows what the problems are. And of course, he cannot address them because he's a pathological liar, he's a narcissist, he's become a tyrant. Godfather asked about Occupy JKIA, and I believe I've already answered that question. Then he also raised the issue of Uhuru Park. I would discourage all of us from going to Uhuru Park. Why? It is fenced, it is secure, it is a trap. Once you go to Uhuru Park and they surround you, they can butcher people without any restraint. And there is not much impact you will do at Uhuru Park. In fact, they can let you do your thing there for 1 year and it will not affect anybody. The purpose of occupying public spaces is not just to make sure that we speak to Ruto and his thugs in one voice loudly, but to disrupt everything, to disrupt transport, to disrupt business, to disrupt all activities in the country. That's the language he understands. Ruto understands the language of money and business. He understands the language of how he's going to be perceived abroad, the handlers that he has as the IMF. You saw that the IMF already released a statement trying to appear contrite when they have not withdrawn fully their punitive um, economic programs that Ruto is trying to impose on us. Josephine asked, should we amend the constitution of Kenya? The answer is no. We should not amend the constitution of Kenya. We should implement it fully. We cannot amend something that has not been fully implemented. The constitution of Kenya is the one giving us the right to occupy the streets, to impeach Ruto, to recall him, to say that he has lost legitimacy and he must go. If we pay attention to the alleged call to amend or whatever, we will be being sidetracked, like Raila Odinga, the conman, tried to do with Uhuru Kenyatta in 2022, when they brought us the poisonous chalice, BBI. We should not fall into that trap. We want our constitution implemented in full. Now, she also said, would it eradicate levels of corruption? The constitution would not eradicate anything. As it is right now, the constitution already proclaims itself and provides for a governance that is not corrupt. But of course, it is individuals, human beings, that are not enforcing it, especially chapter 6, and continue to be corrupt. If you do not punish the corrupt, you will never eliminate corruption. And you cannot punish the corrupt if you have corrupt people in power. So we must remove all of them. Then she talked about priorities 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. No, our priority should remain one. Ruto must go. You see, when you have such a clear, simple, singular priority, nobody will be able to confuse it. You cannot give Ruto demands 1, 2, 3, 4 when you want him to go. You don't expect him to be the one who is making changes. We don't want reforms. We want a complete, total revolution, an overhaul of the entire system. Let me finish, and I'm sorry to have gone on for a while, with what Frederick Douglass said. Frederick Douglass was an African American writer, preacher, abolitionist, orator, anti slavery activist. And he said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are men, and he meant also women, who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. I drop the mic.
Thank you so much, Dr. For your submission and also for answering all those questions that participants had posed. And now we're going to welcome Gerald Teach.
Is anybody hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. We could hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hillary, can you check if...
Yeah, Dr. You can hear me?
Okay.
Dr. You can drop and come
back. Yeah,
okay,
so
fine.
Hillary, please sort him out, but let him know that we heard everything that he said. Yeah, so as we proceed to Gerald Teach, I would like to encourage us to also... Oh, somebody muted everyone by mistake. I've now unmuted. I was saying, okay.
Marge, did anybody hear me, or was I talking to myself?
We had everything.
We had.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think Gerald just dropped. Hillary, if you can check with her. So, but I was about to say that before she proceeds or the next speaker proceeds, we need to also not forget to build the network by following each other, because that's the only way that when we want to share information, we can keep sharing and, getting informed or getting to know what is going on. So, Tom, you're next. 2 minutes each.
Thank you, and I greet all Kenyans in the name of your ancestors. Well, I just want to still ask the general some questions, because in the nature of the conversation that I've seen that he's there, normally he is open to take questions. First, considering his suggestion that we need to implement the constitution without necessarily considering amending it, what suggestion do you have, or how do you think we can be able to meet the 2/3 gender rule, which is a provision in the constitution? And unfortunately, even right now, the parliament did not meet that requirement. In Article 27, Clause 8 and Article 81, Clause B of the Constitution talks about that for both legislative and generally the parliament, so that we meet that. Your suggestion. Number two, I'd like to seek your advice. What advice or lessons can you give the Gen Z leaders who are currently in the forefront of these protests? Another question that I would like to ask is that what is your general vision post success in this revolution? Because I agree with you that indeed we need to win this revolution and we need a total overhaul of the system. Finally, if you may, would you advise, or how can we consider this movement to effectively utilize decentralized organization to maintain momentum and achieve its goals? Because in my opinion, I really would wish us to not necessarily go without a proper organization. I believe we are leaderless, but my perspective, we are leaderful, because most of us who does whatever we are doing, and I believe we do it right most of the time, we are self-motivated. So I believe we are leaderful, but not leaderless. But I suggest we better be more organized. What is your perspective with regards to that decentralized, organized movement? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Let's have Six next, and Dr. Mwakawasi and Professor Miguna, should you want to chime in between, also just feel free to open your mic or raise your hand, and I'll see that. Six, please. We're going 2 minutes each. Over to you.
Me as I just came here to tell these innocent Kenyans that it's time to take back this country. As I always say, on Tuesday, we are all marching to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and there are numbers. So as a people, we should come out. We should not sit online and say, let them go to Amuke. Tuende. Personally, I said I've not been in church in 11 years, and today I went to church to confirm if there is any MP who went there or any leader, so that I can condemn them. So guys, on Tuesday, let us turn out in numbers and to take this country back. You had Ruto threatening us on in Bomet, and that is the leader that we have. It's so unfortunate we have such a man as our. I don't like him, and he's not my president as much as I'm concerned. So I'm just here to rally everyone. Let's turn out in numbers, and I said I'll always stay loyal to this cause until the last day, and even if I die, I'm not afraid to die, and I'll be on the forefront on Tuesday. I'm not just coming here to speak, then I don't act. I've been in all the demonstrations since they started, and on Tuesday I'll be on the forefront. And I said there is no money that will buy me as an individual, because I've made enough money to sustain me for the next 10 to 15 years currently. And what I want is a better country where my parents, my children are going to enjoy life. Right now, I have a patient who has cancer but cannot be treated because hospitali za ushago haziwezi mtreat. I have to always bring that patient to Nairobi each and every day, because it's only Kenyatta Hospital that can handle this. So what kind of nonsense is that? Yesterday I was informed the governor of Busia, a very close friend to my dad, has employed all his friends from Karen, yet hakuna watu wa Busia wana kazi. And that has to keep happening daily. Okia Omtata, the one we call a saint here, ameandika his close friend as his PA, who is a very corrupt man. And these are things we have to get and learn daily. So I'll say this, whatever Tom said, we will have a plan when we cross that bridge. So let's right now go take back our country. When we reach there, we have a constitution, and Kenya is a democratic country, and we will know we'll find the right footing after we've dealt with this rogue system. Thank you, Maj.
Thanks, Six. Can I assume that you listened to what Dr. was saying the whole time? Had you already joined? Because he recommended that the protests be spread, but that people should not go to Uhuru Park because it's like fenced and would. I just want to be sure that you had that.
Yeah, I heard, and that's why I say we are occupying Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
Okay, I was just confirming. Yeah. Okay.
Uhuru Park is not important. Uhuru Park is just some sort of a park. If you go into a park, or you get into a house and a fire starts burning, it will burn you all down. You'll be suffocated. JKIA is in the open. People can find their way and people can occupy. That is where the economy of the country lies. Those in Mombasa are occupying Moi Airport. They are occupying Kenya Ports Authority. In Kisumu, we are occupying this, is it Jomo Kenyatta Airport? In Eldoret, there is an airstrip there. That is what we are doing. We are occupying all this where the economy of the country lies. Tukimaliza hiyo ni CBK.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please, as you go out there, remain peaceful and be watchful, and don't give power to the oppressors where they can come back and say, they were beating us and that's why we had to shoot them. Thanks again for joining. So now we go to Biril. Biril, over to you. Biril cannot hear me. So Kwanza, and then African origin, and Jerotich has just shared that she's settling and then she's gonna come back. Kwanza, then African origin, 2 minutes each.
Thank you, Maj. Thank you, everybody. I'll begin with a question to Dr. Miguna. It's very much evident right now that we cannot depend on the goodwill of the president to resign. The president is not altruistic enough, he's not selfless enough to do that. I think history bears me out on that. In 2007, 2017, 2022, we've seen him, so we cannot rely on his goodwill. But then we are pushing this hashtag, and we are all determined to say Ruto must go. I still haven't found somebody who can outline the step-by-step process of removing him from power when he remains obstinate. because we have ruled out violence and let's say the pressure does not work, what other practical steps can be taken to remove the president from power lawfully? Number two, I listened to the president when he made his remarks today. I will say that when a hyena wants to eat its children, it first gives them a bad name. The president called the participants in the movement anarchists. He earlier called them treasoners. And this should warn us how the establishment intends to crack down on free speech, the freedom to assemble, as well as the right to protest. But I would just urge everybody to not be scared, do not be afraid. We can expect that in the coming days, perhaps the state will use its machinery to pick up bloggers, protesters, and etc., and charge them with various crimes in the penal code and possibly in the computer misuse and cybercrimes act. But I would call upon all my colleagues who are lawyers to perhaps take some of these cases pro bono. We must push back against state excesses. That is the duty we owe ourselves and to posterity. Thank you so much and God bless.
Thanks, Komwanza, for being keeping the time. Hilary, do you want to say something before African continues?
No, not really. Jarate, she's already with us. She's
Okay,
coming back.
okay, great.
All
So
right.
you've
Yeah.
had Komwanza mark his title if you need help somewhere. So not title, but handle. If you need a lawyer and you cannot find a lawyer, feel free to inbox him. But please, guys, when inboxing, yeah.
Okay, I can hear you now. You went.
You think somebody had
Okay.
taken me off here. It happens.
All right.
So I was just saying, guys, Komwanza is offering pro bono services as a lawyer, and I believe he's going to also speak to other friends who are lawyers. So do check his profile and inbox him when you need help. But I would also like to emphasize that people inbox with genuine information, because otherwise if you have false information coming on board and people are saying my friend has disappeared but they haven't, it really wastes a lot of time and it discourages those who are helping. African, over to you, and thanks Komwanza for that.
Okay, thank you very much, the panelists and everyone who's here. My condolences to those who lost their lives, and much quick recovery wishes to those who got hurt in the process, in this important process of getting back our country to the right track, because it's long overdue. In my opinion, we haven't done anything ever since we got out of the colonial rule. The country was handed back over to the neo-colonial uh, puppets, the ones who are actually calling the shots in most important organizations, most important posts in the country. And this is what's driving this cause, the anger. It's about this. It's something that has been living in us for a very long time. Okay, I just have like 5 points to put across quickly, and I hope that Daktari Comrade Miguna Miguna, long live, will weigh in on some of the points that I'm going to put forward very quickly. They talk about leaders. A lot of people have mentioned about having leaders. In my opinion, we are not yet here. Somebody mentioned about, we'll talk about this when we get there. This actually is creating a sense of confusion. It's creating among us. And the enemy should not see our weakness, should not see the fault lines amongst us. And this talk of leaders at the moment is a good call, yes, but not the right timing. So Miguna Miguna spoke about priority. We need to prioritize, and we can utilize like this X spaces to constantly and regularly update ourselves and speak in one voice and kind of have one direction. Because this talk of leaders, we have noticed that we have this enemy is infiltrating it, and they're talking. We have a lot of propaganda coming up to divide the cause. So we don't have space for division now. We have space. The only option we have at the moment is focusing on the goal, which is taking back our country. Number two, we have one Makwasi from the diaspora who spoke about resources. I'm also in the diaspora, and maybe also Comrade Miguna will speaker. The issue with resources we are having is about accountability and putting these resources to use. And who are the question we need to ask ourselves: who are the right people to handle these resources? We are very much okay. For me, I've tried to look through whom can I be able to actually mobilize my resources towards and have them utilize it accordingly. We have those young guys on the who needs utilities here and there to facilitate the whole process. It's not an easy process. It's taking too much of their effort, too much of their energy, and we need some kind of resources to help mobilize and give them a positive attitude towards the cause. So maybe we can discuss on how are we going to mobilize our resources, the resources that we are actually capable. A lot of people are ready, a lot of people are willing, but you get some question marks in the behind the scenes, and you tend to ask yourself, is this actually true or false? That
Please try to land so that you can also give other speakers time. Remember, our time limit is 2 minutes, and you said like you have five
thank you.
points which you wanted to.
Thank you.
So please.
I'll just combine the three more points to put across. Please allow me. Sorry, my apologies. Remember, this is also a revolution here on Earth. So let's put all our efforts, and I'm very much willing to give each and everyone time to add. Anyway, uh, this cause, if we are not able to mobilize our wherever place you're going to occupy, be it JKIA, be it state house, be it parliament, be it anywhere we are talking about, we have to have numbers. Numbers are very important to mobilize. In fact, if we delay this, it's going to give the enemy power to restructure, to reorganize. It should not take us 1 week before this person steps down. And if we have the numbers, I agree that also we need to like avoid Uhuru Park, but also we need numbers. We need to have some soldiers over there. We have to occupy every inch of the CBD, every inch of the economy, so that the despotic regime can have the pressure, can feel the pressure. This, if we just have small patches of people, we are not going to succeed in this. We'll go to JKIA and will not succeed in that if we are lacking numbers. So numbers are very important. And then some also the general spoke about the constitution.
Yes. Would you kindly land, please? I know it seems unfair.
Yeah, just give me one.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Sorry. Just give me 1 point to finish on the implementation of the constitution. I just wanted to mention quickly, please. Thank you very much. We need to actually have a conversation about cutting down on these unnecessary posts that are leading us to unnecessary spending. I met they actually told us Kenya is a rich country than any countries that we have here. But the problem is overspending and our alliance with the IMF and all these organizations that are out to finish African countries. So we need to speak about implementation of the constitution and also cutting down on the salaries and all these unnecessary seats that we have on in our country. So thank you very much. Sorry for wasting your time. Viva.
Viva. No, that was not time wasted. We're just trying to manage the time so that at least more people can get to speak. Thank you so much. Moving forward, just share that, of course, there are many points that we agree with when other speakers have spoken already. But let's avoid repetition so that at least we have new fresh points coming in. With that, I'd like to give the mic to Hannah Ali, then Kenyan lady. Hannah?
Asante, Emaj, Hillary, Daktari Miguna, everybody who's on the platform, Wakenya wote hamjambo, na watarajia kila na heri popote mlipo. Yangu si mengi, to be honest, much. A lot has been covered, and a lot have been said, lakini yangu ni machache. Kwanza maswali moja nataka pia nimalizie, nimuulize daktari. Mi nishindwa huyu Zakayo alipokuwa anapatiana speech ansema he done everything ambayo tumemuuliza. Mbali na hayo hakuna kitu amefanya. Bado ana ile utu wa kuja kusimama mbele ya watu wananchi aseme amefanya hii, ametimiza vovote vile majenzizi na wanakenya ambao wamejitokea nje kwa maandamano amefanya. Sasa ni jambo ipi alitimiza? Haya, bado hiyo anatuambia urongo right in front of our faces. Ya pili kwenye hiyo speech yake alisema ya kuwa wameniambia nije kwenye X nikaja na hawakuweko. And that for me raises a question mark. Alikuwa anatafuta nani? Maanake anasema ankuja kwenye X, lakini wale aliwakujia hakuwapata. Sasa alikuwa anatafuta watu gani? Maanake Wakenya walikuwepo kwa hiyo space, ingawaje mimi sikuenda. So alikuwa anatafuta nani? Hiyo ndio maswali mimi nashangaa nayo. Ya pili, kuna mambo mengi ambayo yanaendelea ambayo si jambo nzuri, ambao hao wenye weko kwenye macheo wanataka kutenganisha Wakenya. Manake kuna toxicity nyingi ambayo inaendelea kama ni kwenye online, kama ni wapi, yani wanatafuta fitna ya kutenganisha Wakenya ambao wameungana mikono, manake wanataka a Kenya that delivers for everybody. Me, I would ask people and I would urge people, do not focus on those toxic conversation. Do not engage in them. Put your focus on wanting Ruto to go and getting this system totally fixed so it can deliver for everybody. Na hakuna mahali hakuna ufisadi. Paka wanyama wetu wa porini wameingiliwa. Paka our natural resources. This thing is deeper than anybody can imagine. And the beginning of correcting things starts with Ruto has to go. All these other things are sideshows. Let's focus and let's focus on the matter at hand, is fixing our system and Ruto going. If we are sidelines with all these toxics that are coming out and people focusing on people, we are not focused on anyone. We do not need those toxic. People would be watatumiwa threatening messages, wataambiwa mengi, and please, one thing, trust yourself and trust your gut instincts. There's a lot of people who have been bought and na wamemagwa katikati ya watu wengine ambaye anaweza kuwa mtu yoyote ambaye unamdhania ni mtu muungwana, lakini hujui hali yake ashabadilishwa, na tunaziona watu wengi wanatokea ambao wamebadilishwa. Hayo naambia mjitahadhari nayo. Asanteni.
Asante sana, Hannah Ali, and that's a very good point there. The language of this space is not only English but Swahili. So wale ambao wanataka kuongea Swahili, mmekaribishwa sana kuongea Swahili, ya tubaguzi na tunataka pia tuongee Swahili. Tujaribu iwe sanifu. Kama uwezi kuongea Swahili sanifu, pia unaweza ongea Sheng, nasi pia tupate kujifunza Cheng. Asanteni sana, but saizi tuenda kwa Kenyan lady. Kenyan lady, karibu sana.
Asante. Asante sana Maj, asante sana Hillary na pia Dr. Miguna Miguna, asanteni sana. So kitu cha kwanza ningetaka to address once and for all is a diaspora influence and diaspora input into the movement. And I want us to conclude on that here and now, because we don't need some of these conversations to be repeated over and over and over in every space. So this is what I want you to do, Maj, if you'd allow me, Maj and Hillary. Our question over the longest time has been, how do we do it? So the first thing that we have done, tumekuwa tukicontribute kwa nini, kwa Hanifa, you know, for all our beloved heroes ambao wametuacha na wale wengine ambao mahospitalini na wenye tunatafuta. So we've been focusing that energy there. We need you guys to come up with another mchanga where diaspora can put their contributions there for everything else other than you know, the medical and whatever Hanifa has been doing. I want us to have this conversation for the very, very last time, as far as, you know, diaspora contribution. Please, can we do that? And can we agree to have that mchanga so that we have that focused area, ndio tuache kuleta, you know, hii mandhari ya nini ya diaspora. Let's have that as a focus when we come out of here, and then give us the mchanga and let us put our focus on it. The other thing that nataka kuongelea about diaspora is that we know very, very well that they are very, very big and major supporters of like Ruto and the current government in their diaspora, especially in the United States. And what I want to say is boycott. So what has been happening lately, kama kwa mfano, we do know very, very well that the officials of the CBK are here na wamekuwa wakicirculate for us who are community organizers. Wametupatia hata flyers, we circulate them around. You know, they are looking for a way that, you know, they can sell us treasury bills and treasury bonds. Like, you know, all these things have been happening under our nose. We need to boycott these things as the diaspora. Our focus right now is to get our country. You remember the time for COVID, we were able to actually run institutions. We were able to, Kenya was able to survive with our remittances plus other subsidies that were done then. So boycott. There are so many activities that are going that are pro-government right now, and I will call them out one by one whenever I get a chance, but right now it's not the time. I just want to highlight about the CPK governors who have been moving really, really slowly from one state to the other, continue to boycott. I know we have been boycotting kidogo kidogo hivi chini chini bila kuambia wengine, but let's pick up about this stuff. The other thing that I want to mention also, ambayo, you know, it's common for us. Many of us have resources. We have invested at home. We have hospitals. Start treating people. Start using your ambulances to ferry people. Bring them in. Collaborate with us who have already been on the ground from the get-go. Donate ISO ambulances. I mean, come on, you guys, you know yourselves. Na wengine hata mnanisikiza hapa. That's the other way that we can contribute. We have invested over and up in Kenya, and this is the time to rise up and save our country. So hizo ambulances zenye tumeweka in our hospitals that we run, all those resources, the nurses, the whoever, you know, all those resources, let's bring them up together as we have been doing. You know, today at least I was able to speak on the specifics. And then the other thing that ningetaka Daktari Miguna Miguna to respond to, the reason that we have seen the comeback of those corrupt leaders and CSS who have been put back is, number one, for voter suppression, and number two, to continue and murder our Kenyan Gen Zs, Kenyan young people as they picket, as they do whatever they're doing. So my main concern are those two things. And actually, for the voter registration and suppression of the IEBC, we know why those CSS were brought in there. Even if we are not waiting for 2027, we still need our children to have their IDs. We still need our kids to have the voters' cards. How do we move that forward, given that those people who are nominated back are supposed to suppress onto that length? Because kumbukeni, watoto wetu wanahitaji IDs. You know, watoto wetu wanahitaji voters card. Voters card may
Can you hear Kenyan lady? I cannot hear her anymore.
No, she disappeared.
I can't hear as well. Kenyan lady, can you hear?
To say thank you so much for the platform, Marge and Hillary and Dr. Miguna and
Yeah,
Kings. Thanks.
Go on, Kings.
Marge,
Yes, yeah.
maybe, yeah, maybe I think Rocky Okari has been here for so long, and then Honorable Nyeko, also Professor Obert, I think something like that. They can go, and then Neto, I've seen you, Karibu Sana, Neto Agustin.
Something. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe you can go now after those three.
Yeah, just a brief one, just a quick rebuttal. The point that Kenyan lady is bringing out about some people in the diaspora supporting the presidency, especially in the US, those are tenderpreneurs. They don't want to speak up, and they're only waiting for chances to cut deals. So when you're told that the eco levy, for the pads there, they want to really have the local manufacturing where we don't have those companies. It's because they've cut deals out there with the people who want to bring in those to come into set up those companies. But as we wait, are they going to be fast enough? So yes, we know that there are people who support not just the presidents but the current administration because of corruption. That's the unfortunate thing. And so if you look even at the past voting results of the diaspora, you know the trend where how it went. That's the reason why even the current government and the last government do not want to have diasporans actually vote, because they know that if diasporans would vote and even register, we would be really a force to reckon with. So yes, thanks for being very honest and talking about that. But I must also reassure you that even here in Germany, the tenderpreneurs are always just lying low. They can never speak up. At this point, I would like to have a diasporan who supports UDA or Kenya Kwanza come in and say, guys, I support them because of ABC. No, they will disappear. The only time you will see them is when the president is going to the US. As we speak, there's somebody who's even used their credit card to pay for Kenya Kwanza. He's not been paid. He's crying. But who the hell pays for a government? What were you buying? And actually, at this point, I'm going to tell the government not to pay back that money, because there's something he was buying, honestly. Yeah. And that, yeah. So that is the point. So those who are supporting, and they're even looking away when there's an injustice happening, it's just because they are profiting from the regime. That's the chiming in I wanted to put out there. Kingsman, whom did you cue next? And then I see Jerotich is back. Welcome on board. Kingsman? Yeah.
I think Jerotich can
Okay.
go because you were told you had given her the mic, and then after Jerotich, Rokio, and then Honorable Nyeko, Professor
Okay.
Obert, and then you can give also Neto the mic
Thanks.
now that you have been late.
Jerotich,
Yeah.
over to you and welcome to the space.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yeah, we can hear you.
Great stuff. Thank you. Mine, first of all, thank you for this space. It's been great to be doing a lot of listening. This past month, I have listened and learned a lot. And I don't have very much to say, just three quick points that I'd like to make. First of all, in memoriam, all of those 51 plus Kenyans who have died in this cause, we want to remember them. We want to honor their memory. We never want to forget them until justice is served, because this justice delayed is justice denied, and we're not seeing any justice. I want to agree with General Miguna Miguna when he says focus must be single-minded. If we straddle multiple agendas and follow conspiracies down various rabbit holes, we will be systematically picked out and picked apart. And this is what we're already seeing. You cannot ask someone, in this particular case, President Ruto, who has refused to implement the Constitution, to behave in a lawful manner. In fact, today when he spoke out in Bomet, when you hear him speak like that, to change public opinion and begin we're going to have a litany of requests and woes, and we're expecting somebody who has refused to implement the Constitution except extremely selectively to behave in a lawful manner. So we must stick to the mission that Ruto must go. Now, I just also want to say that brutality is on the rise. I walked alongside LSK last Monday, tracking the illegal arrests and seeing what happened to our young people. The snail pace of this injustice system is utterly, utterly shocking. And the sheer brutality of the crackdown really completely, amazed me. And I said, this regime is nowhere near stopping. And in fact, all of those 109 Gen Zs who are charged with being drunk and disorderly, for heaven's sake, I looked at them and I said, these are our children. I'm the mother of Gen Zs. And I say they have been beaten. They were limping. They were struggling. There was this one young lady, Nadia, who had been beaten half to death. How do you go ahead and hurt our children like this? And this regime absolutely does not care. And I spent the following day with them, and I spent, time just listening to them and realizing these are not the criminals, the anarchists, all of this rubbish that is being put on them. And we have to find a way as the wider Kenyan community, because this is not a Gen Z struggle, to get involved. Because these 109 who are charged, who will be back again in court on the 30th of July, who will once again get caught up in this system of injustice, will eventually get tired. We cannot also allow our Gen Zs to be used as fodder for police bullets. And this is linked now to my final comment, which is the intergenerational nature of this struggle has not yet come to bear. We have started to coalesce on social media like we do here, but we are not yet on the streets. And I'm speaking as a Gen Xer, and also the baby boomers who are still able to be on the streets, and the early millennials. We have abrogated our responsibilities, and we need this critical mass. If we're going to sustain Ruto must go, whether it's Occupy, JKIA, or any other place that is public and that we can sustain our action, we can no longer push our children to the front line. And when I say that, I say children not because I'm patronizing them, because they're over the age of 18, they're adults, they know their minds, they know themselves, they're absolutely brilliant. I have spent time on the streets, I've been to most of the demonstrations, walked alongside them, they know exactly what they want. But when I say our children, I'm just creating that knowledge that we have pushed a certain group to the fore. We idealize them, we idolize them, we praise them, and then they're the ones who sleep in Central Police Station without food and with bruises all over their bodies. At some point, there will be no more bones to break, and this is what the regime is counting on. So we need to rise up en masse and say, we are all taking our country back. And if we can get to that point, then what we talk about around the single-mindedness of the mission, Ruto must go, we will then get there. Otherwise, they will pick us out as they're already doing, and we'll be relegated to these spaces. So I just want everyone to be encouraged, those of us who are in Nairobi. I appreciate also the diaspora present space, the request for pathways, for support, financial and otherwise. Let us all pull together, because also the division, the diaspora versus those on the ground, what does that even mean? We are all Kenyans. We understand the Kenyan reality no matter where we live. So it's about the unification and the closing of ranks, even at this moment when the regime believes that it has, scattered us enough that we will not come back together again. And we need to be like that shoal of fish that is swimming in unison in the ocean. You do not know who the leader is and who the head, the tail is, but they will scatter, come back together, and keep moving single-mindedly until they arrive at their destination. And this is the encouragement I'd like to leave us with and say, we cannot lose hope. This is the moment not to let go. This is the moment where we say, actually, we have our mission, we know our ideals, and these are the strategies and the tactics that we will employ. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks, Gerotich. Hilary, were you saying something? Because there was an echo, or was that from Gerotich still?
No, it was not. It was not mine. I think everything is good now.
Okay. You want to say something, or shall I just proceed?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Deratich, thanks so much. The time you mentioned, where was the president today? Sorry, I've forgotten. Didn't I?
The president was
He
in
was in
Bomet
Bomet.
today.
Yeah, the moment you mentioned Bomet there, you disappeared for 2 seconds, so we couldn't hear you. But then we had you again. Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
March.
Okay. Yes.
I was just simply saying that when he was in Bomet, even though he was saying that enough is enough and we are coming down hard, I could also tell he went to a so-called safe space. But that space is not as safe as he imagines it is, because it is these same residents that stormed the governor's offices not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. So wherever he goes, the reception is not as robust or receptive as he would like it to be. So we should not be fooled when such pronouncements are made. The lukewarm response that he received indicates that revolution has seeped into every corner of this country. That's what I was trying to say.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your submission, and really for also coming on board to share with us, and for being on the ground to walk around with the.
Not even I can't hear you.
Okay.
I don't know what is
Can
happening.
anyone hear me? Apart from...
I can hear you, Maj. I think the
Yes,
problem is
can
with
you?
Mark, we can
Hillary's
hear you.
mic.
Okay, but Hillary.
I can hear everybody, but I can't hear Marge. It means that Marge has a problem, but no worries.
Okay, I can try. Let me cue somebody else. Then I try to drop and come back. Okay, so now that was Rokio, and over to you. 2 minutes, please. Rokio, can you hear us?
Rocky Okari,
Then we go to Prof.
Rocky Okari, are you here? Maybe
there was an Honorable Nyeko.
Honorable Nyeko, go ahead. Then we go to our speakers again.
Prof,
Yes, good evening, comrade. Am I clear?
yes, proceed,
Yeah.
please. We can hear you loud and clear.
Can you guys hear him? I cannot hear him.
Kingsman, who is speaking?
Okay, Neto, can you hear the speaker?
No, I'm not able to hear him.
Okay.
Thanks much.
You're welcome. So, Prof. Obert, kindly proceed. I think the speaker dropped. I cannot even see him. Prof, please proceed, and then Neto is going to be next.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And this is a beautiful space. I'll be following this. I want to really thank Muger and then Hilary Kings and everybody.
Okay, he dropped.
He has dropped as well, so I think Neto
Okay.
can go.
Thank you very much. First of all, Mike, thank you so much for the mic. And apologies. I think I logged in at 7:15, but for some strange reason, I was invisible until like 1.5 hours ago. My apologies. I did apologize for joining in late, but I was on then at 7:15. Second is I'd like to pass my condolences to the fallen comrades over the past couple of weeks. It's sad that we continuously lose people to a trigger happy regime, but I hope that Kenyans will be able to overcome. The third thing is I'd like to really thank Kenya's diaspora, for the support that you've been giving. I mean, I just listened to one of the speakers here speak about the support that the Kenyan diaspora has been giving. And I really think that part of the things that we must push when we take over the next government is, we need to have a proper foreign policy that is really Kenyan diaspora looking, to really make sure the diaspora pillar in Kenya's foreign policy is something else that is fairly very solid. Having said those opening remarks, I'll speak 3 points and then support General Miguna with his permission in answering about 2 questions, some of them that were asked that I hope I can then support in answering. Number 1, listening to President Ruto today in Bomet, I was more than ever convinced that this regime is fallen. His regime is collapsed, and if at all you saw his body language, is someone who is generally cornered, and he has no more space, and unlike what my colleague George Richard said, that he went to what he thought was safe space. He is like a cat, he really cornered in a corner. And so I really think that the regime is falling first. And in terms of when is what we really need to anticipate that it is falling is beyond, is very clear right now. I mean, from his remarks and from how he reacted today. But the second thing I'd like to say is that, the president did surpass himself in the past week by just doing very horrendous things, things that are completely unimaginable. He has given us, 4 pressure points, which is actually what I want to stress, because then I'm sure my colleagues are going to speak on other things. By giving us a completely crazy group of cabinet secretaries, people he had asked while dismissed, he provides 4 chances for Kenyans to reorganize properly. Number one, during the approval hearings of these particular, because there are going to be like 3 or 4 stages before the cabinet secretaries actually, then if at all the regime is still on, there will be 4 categories or 4 steps for them to be approved. Number one is the first approval hearings of the committee, the appointment committee of parliament. That's a space where we can really, of course, again, try have another chance at occupying parliament and really bring down the regime in terms of showing how the people, some people have mentioned a couple of ministers who have been brought back, who have been engaged in crazy corruption, theft, plunder. And that's, it's going to be a chance to really show the whole world how untidy this particular regime has been in terms of, when we highlight the theft and corruption. But of course, giving Kenyans another chance to occupy these places and keeping on the pressure. The second chance, of course, is going to be when, Parliament tries to vet these people. Should Parliament be such crazy to even try and want to vet these Kenyans? That particular day is going to be a chance, for Kenyans to sit down and really go back to Parliament, now this time properly, in a way that Parliament will never forget. The third chance, of course, which, part of the things that a political party that I'm part of, the United Green Movement Party, will be in court, to try and petition if the president really can, within the constitution, really choose or bring back people who are he has dismissed from cabinet, because the constitution really stipulates that once a state officer is been dismissed, then they become disqualified for office. So the United Green Movement Party and a few other people have been called from tomorrow to really petition and ask the High Court if it's possible, even before we vet whether they are thieves or not thieves, if someone who has been asked well dismissed can then still qualify for office. But the last pressure point we have in what President Ruto did hand over to us is the day he tries to swear in this group of cabinet at Parliament. That would be a classical chance, the best chance. You have all of them at State House. The swearing in is taking place, and that will be really, really a good chance to organize some things around the State House. But having said that, he has given us a couple of pressure points which I will over. I'd like to say a third thing that I really like when I had General Miguna speak to. I think we need unity of purpose. We need a convergence of minds right now. Of course, there are various voices speaking out there, but the best way to deal with nations when we get out of something like what we are just about to get out of, we will be in a revolution. If we do not have a broad coalition of forces, if we do not have a broad coalition of different ideas or different thoughts, then Kenya then would easily slip down a vicious cycle. That is the reason why we might be having differences. Different people have different thoughts, but I really think that one of the things we must do is find unity of purpose. We are Kenyans. This Kenya is ours, and it's fairly very important. Those are the first 3 points I wanted to make. Now, I want to try and help General with his permission and other speakers to answer a couple of things. I think in the occupation of JKIA, and General has said very well, yes, it's a good point to do, but let us also, in tactical war, of course, you go for, military objectives, strategic and military objectives. So there must be strategic points. So, JKIA, of course, in a strategic point. But again, we must always keep the focus. And General, I think, highlighted very well. The parliamentary square where there's parliament, the offices of government, the offices of judiciary, that becomes a perfect place to occupy in terms of how we move forward. So yes, whereas it's possible and good thing to try and engage in places that makes the government feel the pain, like JKIA, Mombasa, like I had someone say, at the airport, it's important to keep the focus in where the government is installed, and that's why Parliament, the Supreme Court, State House, and such other places then become strategic places with regard to how to occupy. And of course, some comment that was made, a gentleman in Nakuru having been frustrated, and Maj and General Miguna did speak to it, a gentleman in Nakuru who has been frustrated that police are brutalizing. The only reason why we find legitimacy is because of the Article 37 provision of the Constitution. We should always be peaceful and unarmed, to protest. If the moment you pick up arms, you then, of course, degenerate in something else, and that, of course, will be a different ballgame. So we must always ensure that we abide by the provisions of Article 37, which is peacefully and unarmed to petition the various authority. I'd like to speak to the last two. The first one is with regard to a comment that was made on the two-third gender rule principle and amendment. So yes, it is important that there are a couple of constitutional amendments that need to take place. But I think what General was speaking to was more that we should avoid right now. What is pressing is not really the constitutional, the two-third gender rule constitutional amendment. At least not for now, until we get this particular regime out of power. But it is true, and it will be important that the two-third gender constitutional principle needs to be enacted. Should we then able to realize the aspirations of the Constitution? So yes, it's an important thing that needs to be done. Just that in the manner of sequencing, it is not that is pressing right now and also urgent. By the way, again, the truth agenda principle is what gives us a chance actually to dissolve this parliament and also to to make sure that Ruto goes home, because you remember that particular advisory that was given by Justice Maraga, pursuant to Article 261(7) of the Constitution. So using the province actually the truth agenda rule that the gentleman raised, it is also possible to actually send this particular parliament home, and consequently, of course, the presidency and all of the elections subsequently. So yes, in the long term, is no constitutional amendments. Lastly, in terms of this particular sector, I'd like to see someone actually talked about to suppress voter registration or voter registration. I really think that what is important in the voter registration process is the nomination and establishment of the IEBC. So whatever we can take, part of the demands that we must make in the next couple of weeks, as we say, Ruto must go, we must also ensure that the IBC then is in place to make sure that all these Gen Zs who are in the streets participate in the next general election whenever it is held, so that at least their voices is not just heard by manner of the protest, but also in terms of the vote. So what is important is the IBC. Let's keep the focus, let's push that, and make sure that, before this regime goes home, if at all it takes too long, we must have an IBC in place so that at least we help us to take Kenya back to constitutionality. Thank you very much, Maj, and I'm happy to support whenever I called upon in the next couple of hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neto. Thank you, Neto, for your submissions. I think what I like to make a rejoinder on is what he purported about, like President had already gazetted on why he fired all his cabinet secretaries. My question to him, also to Daktari, because initially we had said that we need a multi. We can ensure that we are giving this government, we are giving them hell in terms of operations. Because if indeed he found that these people are not transparent, he had listened to the people and he decided to disband all his cabinet. So then, how did he sanctify them a few weeks later? And then he has also found now that Kinaduale can come back. Today in Bomet, he was at home coming for David Chirchir for his reappointment back to the cabinet. So legally, is that even feasible? Because you gazetted that you've disbanded your cabinet the next day, and then you've also given clear reason as to why you did. A minute later, the same characters are back. So I don't know, Daktari, you can advise on that if people can go to court and ensure that he does not even proceed with the people that he has proposed back from the ones that he had fired, I think, a week earlier. So before you respond, maybe we can give the mic to Prof. I see you're back. Unmute and say hi. Say I'm a Kenyan.
Sorry, am I audible, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I
Yeah,
can hear you. You
yeah.
can go, and then Honorable Nyeko. Daktari, you can make a rejoinder on the questions that have been asked, and then we can add more speakers later.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy about this space, and I thank the host and the co-host and all the speakers. And Doctor, I joined when you were elaborating on the key points, and that was amazing. You see my thumbs up and appreciated all you said. That was very detailed. That was very international, and that was very very empowering. And having said that, I put something on the throne or comment section or something is how to plan a peaceful protest. Number one is very important is assembling. Assemble. Number two, organize. Number three, define. Number four, research. Number five, prepare. And number six, notify. Number seven, publicize. And then after that, and then the next one is know your rights in plural. All right, and then the other one is remain peaceful, which the doctor emphasized, which is absolutely paramount. And then the next one is well, that's protest. So it's to do it, is to speak out on issues that we are as Africans, as Kenya, we are passionate about, which is very simple. A singular goal is that Ruto must go. And when that happens, you've given the light to shine upon not just Kenyan alone. I want to just be on, without making mistakes. It is not Kenya alone. It is the entire Africa. And to add to what Doctor said before, I put on the comment section or something or whatever. I'll do that later if I'm not done it. In 2022, Sri Lankans, they did that. That's not too far away from that, right? They did that. They hosted, they kicked out the stubborn president, which was a military officer. So that being said, folks, we are not giving up. Personally, and my team and all the folks I know, when it comes to contribution, when it comes to idea, we'll support Kenya, and Kenya must succeed. That man, I was in this space when he came, the president of. So that being said, folks, we are not giving up. Personally, and my team.
Professor, there's an echo, and maybe you try to land in a minute.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, someone, I don't know, someone was or hear myself. So I think I finished my point really, and then what I will keep saying is that let's not forget those key points. Let's make it simple, simplicity, and then let's keep on be persistent, and we'll get the result. I want to round up with this. Imagine when you're building a big mansion. What do? You lay the blocks, you lay the foundation, make a concrete foundation very strong, and everybody's sweating, everybody's even getting tired and whatever. And we, have a break and have some meal, refreshment, and come back again the next day, and you're doing the project. It's consistent, right? And you have the finance, everything's in the bank, right? And when the mansion is built, because you didn't stop. What happened? And you'll say, "Whoa! I will just build this fantastic mansion." And the word is just saying it. Like, for example, Sagrada Familia in Spain or Paris, the tower. So this is what we're doing right now. So I want to encourage everybody, let's not give up. Let's publicize it. Let's tell the word, and let's go out there and root out criminals out of Kenya and the entire Africa. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Prof. And yes, so as we proceed, I would like to encourage Gen Zs who are in the space to request for the bike. And I would like to also underline that we are moving forward also going to give priority to Kenyans in Kenya to come in and also share their point. So, Honorable, 2 minutes, please. I hope you can speak on Nyeko. I hope you can speak now.
Yes, yes, yes. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We can
Uh,
hear you. Please proceed.
yeah, thank you so much. I'm called Nyako Paul. I'm from Uganda, but I'm currently in the Caribbean. I'm so happy to be here again, and I'm so delighted to be part of this movement. I just want to say that as a Ugandan and as an African, we are so proud of you Kenyans, especially the Kenyan youth. You see now, the wave has reached Uganda, and you heard yesterday or today, our president was warning everyone not to march to parliament. So that is the power of this movement that started from Kenya. It's also moving to some other African countries. So I'm just standing here in solidarity with you people to encourage that we keep the fire burning. Personally, I'm so disappointed with the president of Kenya right now, Mr. Ruto. How can you be like a dog who vomit and then lick out the vomiters? That cannot happen. When he fired all his government, he brought some hope in me. But after a day or two, the dude reappointed everyone from where he fired them from. So literally meaning that he gave Kenyan and African a fat, big middle finger. So my being here, I've been following all these spaces, but today is my greatest day in history that you gave me a mic to speak. It's just to encourage everyone in Kenya, please stand strong. We are with you in prayers. We are in Uganda. We are in other part of the continent. We are standing with you, and we pray that the change comes to pass. I'm equally disappointed with my cousin, Raila Amolo Odinga, for what is going on right now with the dialogue. The young people of Kenya never call for dialogue. I'm from northern Uganda, and people of the lake are our cousins. So literally meaning we are all one people. So what he is doing is personal interest, which is not the interest of the fellow Kenyans. Lastly, the energy, the motivation, everything that we are watching on TV, it's giving the wave to all the region of Africa. So you are not talking alone. We are all here following you. It will be very nice that the wave comes to Uganda, goes to Congo, goes to Rwanda, goes to Nigeria, goes to Ghana. Everyone is watching Kenya. So I would like to say thanks so much, and let's keep the power moving. Let's occupy the strategic places like the airport, like what I'm hearing. Those are very nice options. And I'm going to pledge my help. I don't know who to give my help to, but I'm going to put my email on the comment section so that even if $100, even if 500 shilling, Ugandan shilling, I could send it for the youth who are going to be on the street, can buy some water or can treat some injury person. So I'm going to put my email on the comment section. Someone who is reliable can get in touch with me, and I see what I can support as a Ugandan, as a Pan-Africanist, and as an East Africanist. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Honorable Nyeko, maybe you say this is a safe space for you, a Ugandan. I know you've not had such a. You can say here, Museveni must go, and you are safe here.
Kingsman, stop. Kingsman is my little brother. He's always a catalyst. Don't mind
Okay,
Okay,
him.
Museveni should go. Museveni should
and
go. Are you tired?
okay. Okay, I think Maji, open your mic, but I can't hear you still. But it's okay. You go ahead. I've seen Dr. has raised his
Yes.
hand. But Honorable Nyeko, let us be in touch. Okay, Kingsman, what I say?
So let me do this, Hillary. Let me. Dr. will go, and then I'll log out and come back again because you cannot hear me. Dr. feel free to chime in just before a minute before that. Nyeko, I have a feeling at the moment that Ruto is trying to bring in Uganda. You know, the techniques that are being used in Uganda, in Kenya, the catch and release, and this is going to destroy the youth. I know of people who were actually abducted in Uganda. They use the military. They start with the police, and at one point they use the military. And the kind of stress these people are having, because now they're abducting men. But you know the African nature, men are mostly taught not to speak out. So these people are not going to go for therapy. Then they realize months later, when they're walking on the street and they hear an ambulance, they start running crazy. So the damage that the government is doing to the young generation is really enormous. And to me, it looks like it's a textbook that from Uganda. But thanks for joining us. Daktari, go on as I log out and come again so that Hillary can hear me.
Thank you, Hillary, and thank you, Marge, and everybody else who has spoken. I'll start by saying that as someone who has been abducted several times, tortured several times, sedated once, and forced into exile more than once, actually 3 times, 1988, 2018, twice. I would like to encourage everyone that these atrocities and abuses do not break committed and focused revolutionaries and fighters for justice. They may think that they have broken some of us, but in the whole, it steals us. It makes us more defiant. It makes us more fearless. So let's not fear for the people they have abducted, tortured, and released. If someone wanted to betray the cause, let them not use the abductions, the torture, and then the release as the excuse. If you wanted to join Ruto and don't give the excuse that it is because he arrested you. A committed fighter for freedom will not be broken even in death. We saw it when Patrice Lumumba was abducted, degraded, tortured, and he died with his head held up in 1964. Patrice Lumumba remains as the symbol of African defiance in the face of atrocities. And Ruto cannot be compared to the Belgians in Congo, or Mobutu in the Congo, or Amin in Uganda, or any of these characters who have tried to cling to power through brute force and failed. William Ruto is not more powerful than the Napoleon, all right? William Ruto is not more powerful than all the big dictators like Ceausescu or Marcos of the Philippines. William Ruto is actually a small, tiny um, insect compared to those dictators. And therefore, William Ruto cannot defeat the people of Kenya. Let us make that very clear. It does not matter what he does. It does not matter how brutal he becomes. It does not matter how desperate he becomes. It does not matter the kind of threats he gives. Let us be resolved. Let us resolve and say that William Ruto will not break the people of Kenya down. He cannot defeat 54 million people. One. Number two, the struggle is protracted and must be protracted. The struggle cannot have one formula. It cannot have one form. It cannot have one way. So, therefore, we must adopt many, many ways of weakening William Ruto, of spreading him thin, of disorganizing him, of confusing him, and then defeating him. So, whoever wants to occupy strategic public spaces, do so. Do so in large numbers. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter for how long. We prefer that tactically this should be for many days running because you don't want to give him a break. It has been actually tactically wrong to say we are going to have our protest on Tuesday and Thursday only. I don't know what that noise is, but I'm saying it is
Sorry, I think Devina, please mute your mic. Go ahead, Doctor.
it is strategic and tactical mistake to tell William Ruto in advance that we are going to only protest against you on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that he can prepare, he can reorganize, he can re strategize, he can rearm, he can redeploy his goons and his police to different places because we've already announced what we are going to do. I believe that starting Tuesday, let us give William Ruto a fight to the end. Let us not give him any breathing space. Let us not retreat. Let us not go home. Let us not allow him to rearm. Let us weaken him and exhaust him until he falls. Somebody asked, third point, what are the steps, practical steps, to remove him? There is only one practical step. They are not steps. Once we occupy everywhere and we weaken William Ruto with continuous protests, like in Sri Lanka or like in Sri Lanka in 2022, like in Philippines before and other countries, he will fall. William Ruto will fall. The world will abandon him. Everybody, including his allies, will run for their lives because they know when we catch them, they will be in jail, and he will naturally fall. So there is no way of saying there are practical steps. There is only one practical step, and that is protests. The third or fourth point, I have heard people say reforms, reform. We don't want reforms. This word reforms make me mad because these are the things that castrated our revolutions throughout history. The moment you bring this drip, drip, little changes, it's like applying deodorant on a skunk. The skunk will smell even more. You don't want deodorant on a skunk. We want a total, complete overhaul. Anna Ali said, what was Ruto looking for? Because he held space, he bought Otero, he took him to State House, gave him a fake, uh, maybe tie, gave him some money, crumbs, and let them co host his space. They said about 120,000 Kenyans attended. And yet, William Ruto says nobody did attend. So clearly, he was looking for someone. Maybe he was looking for us, the people in this group, to join, and we didn't, for good reasons. Because what is it that we are going to talk with William Ruto about? We saw how he treated the journalists, Linus Kaikai, Ageo, and Eric Latif. They went there to do their jobs. They asked him questions on behalf of Kenyans, and he treated them with total disrespect. He refused to answer any of the questions that he was asked. And he basically abused Kenyans. He said um, a little child who had been killed by the police was not shot 8 times, but the child died. Does it really matter whether the child was killed by 1 bullet or 8 bullets? You see, that's where William Ruto is, a narcissist. He can't even accept what is right in front of his eyes. So, the other point, and this is where I'm going to land, the diaspora has made great offers, and they have said they would want to contribute towards the cause. I want us to be careful, and I want us to be strategic. We cannot discuss contributions or mchanga or whatever you want to call them on this space right now, today. Let us have a different space where the diaspora will only discuss contributions and how they can contribute materially or financially to the cause. It could be any day, but let's dedicate a day for doing that. We'll set up a group and we'll pick the most honest among the diaspora to be responsible for that contribution. It would not be one person because that's a dangerous thing. You cannot expect one person to account fully for what nobody else observed. It would have to be more than one person, more than two, more than probably three. Three is a good number, but it could be more. We must have accountability. We must have transparency. We must do it better than Ruto is doing. Because everybody is just doing these things thinking that we expect the person to be quote unquote good. So you are expecting the person to be good. But what if they're not? You would have no recourse. So let's always organize ourselves better than Ruto would or is. And we know he's a thug, but we know that thuggery will not prevail this time. I will land. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Terry. Let me test my mic now. If Hillary can hear me, I was thrown out.
No, you're good. You're good. You're something.
Ah,
Good.
okay. I had to. Yes.
They mess up your mic, but you're not fully back. Thank you. Go ahead. I know what happened. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So thanks, Dr. Terry. Let's go to Wizard, then Winnie and Eriko in that order. Oh, sorry. Kim, I see you. Welcome on board, Kim. So Wizard, Winnie, Eriko, and then Kim. Wizard of Oz. See what happens when people use nicknames.
Hello,
Peter
hello,
Maina.
hello.
Peter Maina,
Yes,
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 yes.
yes, Maj. Thank you very much for the mic. Good evening, everybody. Much appreciate. I appreciate a lot for the mic and the opportunity to speak. And I want first of all to appreciate the job you guys are doing. You're doing a great job, and the rewards will be high. So thank you so much. So, and I want to just maybe to emphasize a little bit of saying that we need to put more pressure. We need to put more pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure. This is what will make Ruto move. Otherwise, if we relent, if we start like what I'm seeing, people fighting on Twitter or arguments, oh, we want to be here, we want to be there. We need to put pressure on those pressure points. As Dr. has said, we need to be strategic in whatever we want to do. So we want everybody to come out in every town and every city so that he can see that he doesn't have support. And if we do that for like 2 or 3 days consecutively, I don't think he can be able to stand anymore because he's standing on a very, very shaky ground. I believe so. And today, everybody heard how arrogant, and vindictive, how arrogant he is. He says that he called for a space and we ran away. And you see, and there are people, the last time I checked, I saw, because the space is recorded, you can access it. There are so many people in that space, but he says that we ran away. So this guy is very dishonest. So what do you expect from such a leader who stands in front of the people and he says they called me for a dialogue, and when I went there, these people, all of them ran away and they left me there alone. So you can see what kind of a person we are dealing with. Secondly, I would want to say that he is very vindictive, and the threats he's putting around are real. So people should not make any mistake of thinking that he's not going to act on those threats. He's going to do it. The best way to prevent that to happen is to put pressure so that he feels that he cannot do whatever he wants. Because for him, he's going to be brutal. And I expect him to be more brutal because he is desperate. He wants to stop us. And the best way he can do that is to pick me tomorrow, the other person the next day, like that. So that he make us weak and we lose hope. And we cannot afford to lose hope because
We lost him. Oh, okay. And then he dropped. So Eric, I think the other speaker dropped also. Eric, and then Kim. Winnie had dropped. Eric, can you hear me? If you cannot hear me, Kim is gonna go. Kim, please proceed.
Thank you, Mudge, and I have so much great respect for you, and I'm very in awe and almost intimidated by being on this platform with so many people I respect politically and ideologically. what I want to say is I'm speaking from South Africa, and we've just undergone an election which has seen South Africa go back to colonial. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to get out of a very noisy space. We've seen an election which has taken us back to sitting in a government with a colonial master, with a party that supported white supremacy. So, at a time when South Africa is going backwards, it is so encouraging to see the people of Kenya on the streets marching for true democracy. I'm a writer and I've written quite a bit about Ruto, about how he has enjoyed the red carpet of the US and lavish meals while his own people have struggled with growing unemployment and daily expenses. And I think what we're seeing, and I am encouraged, I think that we're seeing the death, it may not be now, but of leaders such as Ruto and in our own case, such as Cyril Ramaphosa, who has actually sided with white imperialism and it kneels down before them, and by doing so have sold their own people. And I think the days are numbered for these people. We're seeing different types of leadership and people power emerging on the continent. And I think the Kenyan people, I can just say that for those in South Africa who are impoverished, and these are the African majority, the Kenyan people are of great inspiration. The party that I've been associated with, the Economic Freedom Fighters of Julius Malema, has pledged its great support for the people of Kenya. And that's very much what we need in our own country. But we have yet to see the bravery of ordinary people going out into the streets. And in the last article I wrote, I spoke about how people in Uganda and across the continent are being inspired by the people of Kenya. And I think it's going to take a bit of time, but we're going to see a new model of democracy, a homegrown democracy, which places great value on the sovereignty of people of Africa. And we even see, just to conclude, the people in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali also demanding a different type of reality, a different type of tomorrow, which is going to serve the young people of their own nations. And I see this as a very exciting move. I'm a bit older, I may not see that in my lifetime, but I think Africa is destined towards a different future determined by its youth, not by its old leaders who are beholden to Western governments. And for me, I just see Ruto, I'm quite disgusted by how he has embraced Western leaders. And as a white person, as a white settler in South Africa, I've written a lot about white supremacy. And you know how African leaders and have sold out to Western nations, but they will never get the affirmation of those leaders. They will always be regarded as second-rate citizens. And quite honestly, to me, Ruto is losing his dignity, not only in Africa, but internationally. But I wish you all well, and I'm so impressed by the level of ideological clarity. I know when the doctor spoke about Thomas Sankara in your last session, I actually wept because to me, he's the greatest leader we've ever seen in Africa. And it's so sad that what we're seeing today is a fraction of those leaders. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us who want to see Africa be freed that we evoke the spirit of such leaders that unfortunately were assassinated by the hand of white people. But thank you for the opportunity. I'm listening with such interest and such love for people who are just wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kim, for always listening to our spaces and also for joining and, sharing your support from South Africa. We really appreciate. Thanks again. And those who love reading, like Kim said, she's a writer. Get on and read her books also, and let's just keep connecting and also learning from different people from different parts of the world. We go to Mike, and I want to really encourage Gen Zs and Kenyans in Kenya to request for the mic, and then as we proceed that way. And Neto and Geraldine, should you want to chime in at any point, just open your mic. Same to Kingsman and Hillary. And Dr. You let me know also when you are ready to answer the questions before I cue you in. So Mike, over to you. And you can use either Swahili or English. We're not only speaking in English here, so I just wanted to just repeat that again, Mike. And if I call you twice, thrice, and you don't respond, I'm going to take you off because those are the people who come in and clog the spaces. So, Mike, over to you.
Okay, hi. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. First of all, let me say I'm just glad that we've taken this step as the young people of Kenya. I'm glad that we're trying to take the country in the right direction. I was watching the news today and I was actually very perturbed by Ruto's remarks, terming the Gen Zs as faceless anarchists who trying to steer the country in the wrong direction. Yet he wants us to come to the table and talk to him. Yet the demands that we tabled, he is not even yet satisfied either of them. We asked him to overhaul the cabinet. We asked him to dismiss the cabinet, and he nominated a new one. And out of the people that we wanted out of the cabinet, he went back and returned the same people. I think he's trying to look for he's trying to look for the person who's financing this protest. And if he were here, I'd have told him he is our biggest financier. He is the person who is financing us. He's the person who is feeling our rage because he's not ready to listen to us. Gone are the times when you lead people, where you lead people in the direction that you want. This is a democracy. Kenya is a growing democracy. So he has to listen to the people. He has to take the country in the direction that the people want and not the direction that he wants. I think going forward, things are going to be much messier. Things are going to be much harder for him because we're not going to relent. We're not going to take a step back in any way. We will have to make sure that he listens to us, and whatever it is that we want, he will have to do it. He said that he will protect the country, he will protect life, he will protect the people. And I will tell him this if he's listening. We will come peacefully, but we will not relent. He has to acknowledge that the people have are the sovereign power of the state. He has to acknowledge that we are the people who gave him the power that he has, and he has to acknowledge that he has to listen to whatever it is that we're saying. So I will urge all of us, whoever is listening, I will urge all of us to come out in large numbers. Let's marshal in large numbers. Let's come out. Let's fight this. Let's march together. Let's ensure that whatever it is that the lives that we've lost, let's not have lost them in vain. Let's make them count. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike, for your submission. And so moving forward,
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest, kindly mute, Mike. I'd like to suggest that, of course, in the group, in the forum, we are in agreement that the sentiments of the president were actually uncalled for, and more of catalyzing and gaslighting, and also the nomination of the cabinet. Some of them were recycled. So moving forward, would we please while taking all the 2 minutes each, concentrate on the solutions and next pressure point. And so 1 minute go on the solution, and the next minute if you have a question to the panel, you push it, because we still have over 100 people on the speaker who are requesting for the mic. And meanwhile, the invited guests, feel free to chime in at any time. We need Justice Masimba in that order, 2 minutes each. We are concentrating on the solutions for next week. Yes.
Also, we got our niche in. Thank you so much for the chance. I'm Winnie Agency from Nairobi, Kenya. We are irritated by the president's response today. He said we are faceless, tribeless, but I think he's testing our fearless part, which will show him that we are indeed fearless by turning out in large numbers on Tuesday. Then I have a question to Dr. Miguna Miguna. There is a post he made last week or last week, but the one when the Maandamano was starting. The issue of Githurai massacre, he said that some people were incinerated in Kawa barracks. I want him to clarify that point because we are friends there, and they said it's not possible for people to be cremated. Or they were not actually. There were no cremation in Kawa barracks. Can he clarify, please? Because we want facts. We don't want to go with rumors. We are fighting for our nation and we don't want to fight with rumors. We want to fight with facts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for joining us and also for the questions. He had actually clarified that in the beginning, but let me give him this opportunity to give a summary. But while we are at that, let's really share the space again so that people do not come and ask. Really, it's good that you're asking. You don't ask questions that were already discussed. But I see he's raising his hand. He's going to respond to you. Thanks, Winnie. Over to Dr.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, Winnie, let me repeat what I said before, and I've said this several times. Number one, anybody who defends the regime, anybody who defends a murderous regime, is not on the side of the revolution. Whenever you hear an allegation against the regime, be quick to support the allegation and be quick to blame the regime. That's rule number one in a revolution. Never ever support the regime because that's how to delegitimize it. Number two, a regime that can abduct people from their homes and this, or even from the street, and these people's bodies or corpses are found in dams, in dump sites, and in quarries, some of them decapitated, is a regime that can do anything to survive. Number three, we have information that more than 300 people are missing in and around Nairobi. This is a fact, it's not rumors. We do not know where these people are. Nobody has told us where they are. The state that is paid to protect these people and to be able to provide this information has not provided it to us. These people were participating in the protests. Therefore, any person who is a freedom fighter must assume that these people are dead and their bodies have not been found. Therefore, to dismiss the information some of us received that they incinerated these bodies or cremated them in Kawa barracks would tend to be a support for a murderous regime. Number four, this regime and the regimes before it have human incinerators all over the place. I know of the ones at the headquarters of the NIS on Kiambu Road. They do have already cremators and incinerators. And they can also use incinerators for animals. If many of you have a clear recollection, you will remember the man who died in Ruiru at a factory, who burned to death, and they could not even find his teeth. They do have the ability to disappear you and incinerate you, or burn you, or cremate you. So, anyone who wants to challenge anything I say to you, the onus is on you to table the evidence that contradicts me. Until you do so, focus like a laser beam on the struggle. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much, Dr. Harry. Just a moment, Hilary wanted to explain something to Winnie. Winnie, just to add onto what Dr. Harry has said, where did you say you're dialing in from? Nairobi?
I'm
Or
from I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. Yeah.
Nairobi. So imagine ukipotea pahali na mimi niseme Winnie amepotea. Then Hillary anakuja anasema Winnie hajapotea. So you see, Hillary lazima mimi ni mwenye anasema Winnie hajapotea, lazima akuja proof. Because tukiconcentrate kwa ile inasema that Winnie has not disappeared. If you indeed has disappeared, you know nobody is going to find you. But if we go by saying, okay, Marge is saying Winnie amepotea. Mwenye anasema Winnie hajapotea, atuonyeshe Winnie hajapotea. And in that way, utapatikana. So it's not only what Miguna said that is being disputed by a lot of people. This is propaganda that's going on. So you find that one person says A, instead of people coming to really table evidence against it, they just say the person is lying. But in real sense, when people have disappeared, we will never know. And they're pushing out that propaganda everywhere to just make sure that the truth is buried somewhere. So if you hear something, please tell those people, okay, if you think it's not true, give us the evidence that it's not true. So that way we're going to save more lives. That way we're going to really have a situation whereby we are communicating and we're even seeing the evidences. We should be asking for evidences of the thing that we're being told. Thank you. Hillary?
Yeah, thank you so much, Maj. Thank you so much, Daktari, for explaining that. I think those who have been here, Daktari has been explaining this thing over and over, but now I think it is clear, and maybe we will go back to recordings, then you listen to it. Also, kuna wale wanauliza Maji, kwani hakuna Kiswahili hapa? Tunasema ya kwamba
Hillary, on the on the Githurai thing, I have information that those people, the police
sawa
were
Kings, na
shooting
kupatia
at
muda.
people in a market incessantly, like they were just shooting. So there's a probability that so many people were killed as Daktari is alluding to. And then also remember, not everyone has got access to internet, or they also have access to spaces like we do, or maybe they're on X, whereby maybe someone is missing, and then we go to their handle and say maybe release someone, or run like a hashtag, like release guy though nani. So not everyone has got that ability. So many people are not on these social media apps. People are not. They cannot. The best they can do is go to the police station, and you could see the police station saying, like the other day, they said the guy that was murdered outside Parliament. I think the records at City Mortuary, they were saying like he died from mob justice. So we can really not trust whatever this government is telling us until they prove otherwise. They come with that information that Daktari is talking about, and then they say that this is the evidence we have. These people that are saying have been maybe cremated, no, they are not, and then they are alive and they are here where they are.
Sawa sawa, tulikuwa tunahimiza watu ya kwamba Kiswahili, kama unaweza zungumza Kiswahili, Maji alisema zungumza tu, come to just speak Swahili, usijali, itisha tu mic alafu pewe pia uzungumuze Kiswahili. Kama unaweza zungumza Kiingereza na kama ni Sheng pia ni sawa, hamna shida. Watu wote uzungumuza tu lugha yote ambayo watu wanaweza elewa, Kiingereza ama Kiswahili. Sawa, Maji, back to you.
Thank you so much. Wangulani, Masimba, minute each. Sorry, 2 minutes.
I thought I was online, but it's okay. I'll mute.
Sorry, Justice. I actually skipped you. Justice Masimba and then Wangulani.
Thank you and good evening, all. I must take this moment to continue condoling with the fellow soldiers who have laid their life and their blood for the sake of our country. And I am here to remind them that their blood was not shed in vain. On that very day that Dr. is referring to, where people are questioning whether there was an incinerator that day. I happened to be in both situations. Actually, I was in town, right at the center and the heart of it all, and I got shot. I was shot 3 times. I've healed now, and on my way back, I was also moving that evening to Kawa Sukari, which is a long, thick road. No vehicles were moving. The vehicles which could move were up to Roysambu because Githurai was a chock-a-block. No vehicle could pass. So I jumped off the lift I was having and took a motorbike. And I can attest to you what that even the motorbikes who had the bravery and courage to ride through Githurai that day, whatever that guy did, even me, I was like, that was out of this world. He rode through it. The rubber, the live bullets were bursting through our ears as we were passing. Lucky enough, they did not catch me. That would have been my second scenario. But the things we observed as we were passing through, that's not a country you can imagine. And the death that came out of it, because this guy is killed and they pick in the ambulances and run away with them. And my first stop, because I was supposed to stop at Aga Khan TRM, they'd closed. So next stop, I stopped at Rehema. That's where I got treated of my injuries. And we had so many cases of people who had been shot from Githurai. Check, go and visit those hospitals that day. Look at their recording, including fatality. And those who died who had gone to KU referral hospitals were in numbers. So when these guys turn around and say that it was only probably one and all these things, is an insult to our intelligence. And that was just my personal experience. I had experienced brains being blown off in the road next to Parliament. I'd seen several deaths that very day before occupation of Parliament. We were right in the center of these things, and I've just confirmed that I was a victim, treated as well. So I'm happy that I have healed. That following day, I followed up a number of friends of ours who were affected at Kenyatta National Hospital. And a number of, some of you were with me in the hospital when we visited them. And even today, I would still urge you, if you can visit them, like Ward 6 in Kenyatta has been, specifically, there's a ward that is dedicated to the victims of demonstration. And then when you sit down with these guys, visit so that you renew your understanding and your indignation, even to engage further. When I visited them, some can't walk, some need wheelchairs, some can't lift their hands. They need strappers to hold their hands. And then they have varying different situations. And the worst of it all was the psychological state they were in. Most of them were wondering whether what they'd engaged in was in vain. And I had to just, again, inspire them and give them hope. And I believe even if you didn't have a hope enough or a reason to come out and bring down this draconian government, uh, visiting those fellas, visiting those brothers and sisters is sufficient reason enough.
Yeah.
That
Please try to
evening,
land.
yes, that very evening I visited the morgue as well. In Kenyatta alone, they registered that Thursday, the Thursday we're talking about incineration. They'd registered 11 live bullet shots. There were already 3 recorded fatalities. Others were in critical situations. Yeah, so these guys can't just run away and deceive and spread lies the way they're continuing. Just to learn, would call out comrades again. It's another day, it's another season, and it's another time. That is Tuesday next week. It is us to further, press further on our strategy. We need to keep on the messaging. I would call upon members to keep messaging. We need a moratorium on any trade, on any lending, on any borrowing, or even payment of loans on behalf of Kenya by this guy. And we need to intensify our strategy also in communication, because right now he's really trying to use the mainstream media to talk to our parents, to talk to our fathers, and to badmouth us, divide and conquer. So we also got to need to intensify on our propaganda and exposing him whoever he should be. Ladies, if you've ever worked for a cause, I think it's the time. Camouflage with them. Let's expose these guys. Let's embarrass them. They are actually bringing themselves down. Is a reflexive action. And then again, let's turn out. Let's not just be behind the keyboard or in the spaces alone. When we're called out to come out, I think it's necessary. But then we need to come out strategically. We need to organize ourselves in an undefeatable manner and make sure that we send this message once and for all and loud and clear to a point that this guy would not sit back and call us, faceless, formless. He should know that we as a form, we have structures, We have
Juma.
organization and leadership. Thank you. I know I've surpassed my time. My
Yes,
apology,
Juma, and
but I
others who
look
wanted to
forward to
speak. But thanks so
communicating.
much for your
Yeah.
info, and do share also that info via a tweet so that we can retweet, and that because that is vital information that you're sharing there. And for those who are coming to say that others are giving false information when it comes to death, this is a very serious information that one would, if it turns out to be false, it would have really grave consequences. So please do not dismiss people. Find evidence to show that they're not telling the truth. Wangulani, then Dr. Owiti. 2 minutes each now, for real. And
Hello all.
sorry, before you go, Wangulani, Peter was dropped off air when he was speaking. Peter, kindly just finalize, and then Wangulani can go.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I got dropped. I don't know how it happened. That was very weird the way it happened. I think the government is trying to do everything possible to scatter us and make sure that we do not come together. So as I was saying, that let's put pressure on those points that will really work. So if we decide that we want to occupy spaces, let everybody come out in large numbers, every town, every city, and we put pressure, because if we do that, he's not going to recover. But if we relent, he's going to come back and very strongly. As I was saying previously, that you see, like today, he was threatening us, and I want you to believe that he's going to come back very, very strongly, very hard, very brutal. So if we don't remove him, he's going to be very, very brutal. So we don't have a chance. We don't want to give him an option. We make sure that he goes, because if he doesn't go, we will suffer big time. He is very vindictive. I remember when people breached parliament, he said that people must be held accountable. And you see his system, the way he's holding people accountable, he's not even taking people to court. He's abducting people, he's killing them, he's torturing them, and then killing them and dumping their bodies, incinerating their bodies. That is not a person, that is not a human being. This guy is an animal. And you see, he's using the church. He's going to church every Sunday. He's following. Their church people are the ones who are giving him this support and wherever, whereas we are fighting him, and the people in the church really need to rethink their way. Even if they are playing God, they need to really think about it. It is very bad that the people who are supposed to tell him you cannot do A, B, C, D, they are the people giving him that support. They are giving him that platform, you know. And that's why our parents, is very difficult to our parents, really, many of them do not really believe that what we are doing is right, because they look at him as a man of God. But really, is he a man of God? I doubt it.
Thank you
So
so much, Wayne.
yes, so I would
Right.
urge comrades to come out in numbers and let's push him out. We don't have an option. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your submission, and we appreciate always you coming and also giving some ideas on the same. Guys, I know some people coming in and dropping. Check your Twitter, and it is not the space. I've noticed that it is your handle. Check what is happening, or reset your phone so that you can don't complain. And so many people are requesting, so we are trying our best to get people on board. Who is coming next, March?
Next, we have Wangulani, then Owiti. And like said, the main speakers, if you want to chime in, just feel free at any time. And you I've also dropped twice, so it's a technical thing. It's the targeting the space, so we are not removing or dropping anyone. Wangulani, 2 minutes each now, guys. We still have over 100 requests. I'm gonna be now very strict, and so after 1 minute, you're gonna see my hand up. That means you have a minute left. So Wangulani.
Hello all. Okay, so I'll be very brief. So today we saw that the president was very arrogant, and that means that there are people who are giving him confidence to be that arrogant. So I suggest that we identify these people who are basically the politicians supporting him, and maybe some of the rogue police officers, and identify their businesses and maybe their homes, and we can occupy those business premises that belong to them, thus making it very hard for them to do business, disturbing their peace at home. I'm not saying that we should raid their businesses because I don't encourage violence. So we should just occupy their business premises and their homes. In this way, we will be applying pressure on them. Once they start feeling the pressure around their places, they will not have peace, and thus they will stop misadvising Ruto. And they will also start advising him to let go, because they will start to realize that if all Kenyans don't have peace, they cannot also have peace. That's all.
Thank you so much. I'm actually of a contrary opinion about or occupying business premises, because that can really be used to divide the citizens, and it's like a livelihood, like the Kenya we live in. When somebody goes for business, they're going to bring the food back to their child. So if that is it's not even the one that you targeted, but then you end up blocking another person, so that's something that's going to bring division, and it's gonna be like some sort of vigilantism. But I stand free to be corrected as we move to Owino, Dr.
Maj, I
When was
think, Maj, sorry, I think you're right. Let's not turn citizen against citizen. Let us target Ruto, his regime, and their enablers, like Raila Odinga. Ruto, his regime, and his enablers.
Thank you so much, Dr. That's what I wanted to echo and merge what you have said. Let us not target the people's business because they need unga like us. Always let us target the public places. That's the way we are saying parliament and any other place which is public but not business people. I want to say that again, we are 8,000. People are crying here. Follow me, follow each other. Let us follow each other so that when we have these spaces, is very important. I'm just calling upon. I see some people are saying I'm new here. Is when I'm joining. Thank you so much for coming on board, and also make sure that you follow the spaces so that when you have a space, you can see what is happening. Dr. Wen is coming in.
Yes.
Okay, Witty, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Miguna Miguna, thanks so much for being here. First and foremost, allow me to set my profile right. I'm Dr. Owiti Owayo. I contested for the Kibra parliamentary seat in 2019, following the demise of Ken Okoth. I'm a graduate from the University of Nairobi. I studied philosophy. And the reason why I'm joining this platform is because I have been a victim of torture and abduction. In 2021, as a student of Miguna Miguna, actually, uh, um, I was at the forefront. I was at the forefront to speak against the brutality which was ensuing in the country at that time. That was during the era of the CS of Interior Matiang'i. And just as Miguna is actually very focused on ensuring that we have a regime that respects constitutionality, constitutionalism, blah, blah, blah. I believe that as a young man, I have the ability to express myself without being called or without being coerced by any person, as long as I observe the the, uh, the rule of law, and I also observe the constitutionalism of this country. Actually, uh, after suffering unduly, because I was abducted, I was taken to the Ndasolera prison. I was moved from the Ndasolera prison and taken to Kiambu, and this suffering has never been brought to any public domain. The kind of suffering I underwent in 2021 in the hands of Matiang'i, who claimed that I had the ability to kill him. Actually, he reported me to the police. He took me to the DCI on account that I wanted to kill him. And basically what I was telling Matiangi, I was telling him that you are in a public office and you must ensure that whatever you do to a fellow human being, you should expect the same to be done to you.
Yeah.
And I also,
Dr. Could you kindly land, because we're giving people 2 minutes each. Please take your
So the reason why I'm bringing this to the public is because there are so many young people, there are so many Kenyans who are suffering unduly. They are willing and ready to join the revolution, but they're afraid that when they're abducted, when they're taken to prison, nobody cares about that. So Dr. Miguna Miguna, I can request you, I'm requesting you here to be at the forefront to ensure that any patriot, any person who comes out to fight against the brutality in this country, the atrocity in this country, actually is in your record, so that they find a way of being helped here and there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kenyan checklist. I'm so sorry. Good that you're raising your hand. I really have not forgotten about you. Take a go.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Now, are we allowed now to speak our mind without
From
fear?
the very beginning, we were allowed. Just stay within those 2 minutes, please. Yeah. Over to you.
Maybe I want to first of all ask a question. You know, we have to get a clear direction of where we are going, and we also have to get rid of people who are taking advantage or the opportunists, people who are not clear on what they want. Let me call out Miguna Miguna. Miguna Miguna is not helping us in any way. He is a lawyer. Our people are being taken to for custody. Miguna Miguna has not helped even one single protester.
No, let me ask you. Let me ask you. No, hold on. If you have a
Let
Twitter,
him speak.
yes, I want
Let
to
him
let him speak, Dr. Ray, but he has a Twitter handle, and to come and blame you as a lawyer for not having help.
You said we are all on the right on the
so
same.
Kenya, can you please let me speak?
Kenya checklist. Hear the direction.
So what I'm going to say here is
Maz,
that.
can you hear him? I can't hear him at all.
No, I think Hillary has
No,
muted him.
It's muted.
So I'm going to tell you people, all of you, some of you are sycophant. You went in and refused to think. You followed your favorite politician. You were a sycophant. Now, when they turn against you because politicians are the same, you come here and start blaming people. We are not going to be that emotional dustbin where you come to insult people or to attack people personally. So if you have a personal attack against anyone, you are on Twitter, you can use that Twitter handle to attack that person. If you're coming to contradict their idea, you're free. So sorry, and this is something that has not gone very well with people, but no attacks are going to happen in this space. There are many people, personal attacks, no. Calling out an idea and say this is a bad idea, yes. So back to you as you finish your 2 minutes.
And before he comes in, let us focus on the idea or our topic today. That is making sense. I think all of us are here in one mission, and that mission should be one. So somebody coming and we don't want to divert attention. You know, I think Dr. has been volunteer advices for everybody all the time since we start these spaces. So when you're saying that, I don't think that we're sincere on the same. Otherwise, he's dropped. So I don't know who's next. Say away, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
So Fred, you have a mic. Oh, Mumbi, go ahead. Sarah is still struggling, maybe. Mumbi.
And apart from that, before Mumbi goes, Hillary, this is just my personal opinion there. Some of them also voted on tribal lines. And when their tribal kingpins have turned against them, they're coming. Yes, it's a serious situation, but please, let's not use it to have personal attacks. They are not allowed. Mumbi?
Thank you for the opportunity once again. I'd like to encourage everyone and to thank everyone for turning out. Every time you're called upon to turn out to defend our rights and our nation. For me, it's more of a question: how do we get everyone on board, everyone who's Kenyan? Because now it's more termed as a Gen Z or a young people revolution, but where we are at, it's supposed to be everyone. How do we get everyone on board? Another thing is, I am a believer in Christ, and Ruto has, from the start, even during campaigns, gone to church. So I'm calling upon the church to actively criticize the government, because it's their role. Because when they say all we do is just pray and pray and pray, prayer sometimes without action is dead. Faith without action is dead. As you can see in the book of Joshua, when there was occupation of Israel, when they were marching around the wall of Jericho for 6 days, we had spiritual leaders actively in this. So I'm calling upon the church to stand up with us, even if they're going to call for a week or fast or go to the streets with us, but they can't, during this time, they can't stay silent at all, because they're the ones who can also reach our parents and the older generation, because they really listen to them apart from the president. So I'm really calling upon the church to stand up with us, to stand up with the nation, and to help us educate our parents and be active in this, not just telling us, oh, we need dialogue, or we need to pray. They need to be active in this. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Dr. Ring, would you let us know if you want to chime in now, or if you could?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would
Please
like
go.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Maj, thank you very much for what you're doing. I want to explain a few things to a few people, and I've been saying this for a long time, but it doesn't seem like it's getting into everyone. But I don't expect it to get into everyone. Number one, this struggle is a voluntary struggle. Nobody's forcing anyone to struggle. If you feel that you support tyranny and looting, plunder, and the destruction of the country, by all means, feel free to support the regime. But you are a few. We will defeat you. So, but feel free to support them. If you do support theft of public resources, then we have a right to conclude that you are also a thief. If you support murder, we have a right to conclude that you are a murderer. If you support abductions and torture, we have a right to believe that that's what you do either for a living or you do it as a habit. Regardless, you have chosen your side. I chose my side when I was young, at the ages of the Gen Zs. I was only 18 when I chose the struggle. I've never left it. Now, clearly, Miguna does not hold public office, and I've never held public office since 2011. So everybody knows that. And there has been no allegations of corruption against Miguna, not once. Miguna has never been terminated because of violations of Article or Chapter 6 of the Constitution. What we are having are specific problems that Kenyans have faced for a very long time. I don't feature in them. I only feature as a resistance, as somebody who is resisting these atrocities against the Kenyan people. So if you're attacking me, it means that you don't want me to continue fighting for social justice. So we know where you stand. There is no problem. Secondly, the Kenya Law, the Law Society of Kenya, and starting from the President Faith Odhiambo, have been very gallant in representing all people who have been arrested, who have been abducted, who have been charged pro bono. They have given their toll free numbers for everybody to call them in the event that you are arrested. Why do you want Miguna to be representing you? And you're right here on Spaces, you have not even been arrested. What is it that you want from me? I'm not your father, I'm not your mother. I'm just a fellow citizen. I'm a compatriot trying to fight for your freedom. It should not matter where Miguna is at any specific time physically. The only people demanding to know where I am are the people who came to my home already twice to abduct me. Why is that your interest? Why is your interest the fact that Miguna has not visited you at home and yet I don't know who you are? So let us focus, as I said, and I will repeat for the purposes of everyone. This is a collective effort. It is not a personal fight. We are fighting a systemic problem, a problem that started during British colonialism. The problem of theft of public resources and land, the problem of misappropriation of public resources, the problem of assassinations, the problem of murder, the problem of torture. These are things that started during colonialism. Kenyatta continued them, Moi continued them, Kibaki continued them, Uhuru continued them, and now Ruto is perfecting them. These are the things that Kenyans want a stop to. Now, finally, not everybody will be fighting the system because we know that a few, a tiny fraction, less than 1%, are fighting to continue their privileges. This is to be expected, the collaborators of the system. So anybody who is looking for all Kenyans to join the fight is just naive. Not everyone will be fighting the system because we have beneficiaries of the system. We also have sympathizers of the system. Let us unite as patriots and wipe them out. It doesn't matter whether you are from my age group or not, or whether you are from my tribe or not, or whether you are from my class or profession or gender. We must unite as patriots to protect our country from being destroyed fatally by Ruto and his regime and their collaborators. That's all I wanted to say. There is nothing personal in this fight. This is a collective effort.
Thank you so much, Daktari. And so do liars with Hillary so that at least we get to know how much more minutes you have, and then we can see when to end the space and at least plan to have the invited guest speakers also give their closing remarks. As you liars with the Hillary in the background. And Neto, anytime you want to speak, just feel free to chime in. So we go by Ndolo and then Ains, then Rogers.
Also, Marge, remember to tell people to follow each other. You follow the speakers, follow the
Yeah,
host,
okay,
the
yes,
co
yes, yes.
and
Let's not
speakers.
forget to build
Yes,
a
yes, yes,
network
yes.
because
Sorry, number. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, Kings noted. Ndolo,
Shukran, mwanisikia? Mwanipata?
Sambamba.
Kabisa.
Shukran ndugu na kaka Miguna Miguna, Neto Agustino, Hana, Maj, Hillary, na wengine wote waliopo. I mean, the conversation is good, and mine is just to insist on some things. For a very long time, we've always been saying that it is the institution, the professional institutions, that can give us good leaders. Okay, so if it is the professional institution like say LSK, those one can give us good leaders. If you go to the engineers, if you go to the accountants, if you go to the nurses, the quantity surveyors, these are the people who can give us good leaders in the country. But if the institutions are not fighting for their members well, then problems are going to come up because an angry man, or rather somebody who is very hungry, who needs food rather, will always look at the stomach. So when the financial bill was being passed, and then there were issues like dropping, trying to make sanitary towels be expensive, I wondered why. Yet, if you go on my timeline, there's a lady who has been doing sanitary towels. She dropped out of her. She left her job that was, I think, she was an air hostess, And then she started producing cheap sanitary towels in the country, yet she's not an engineer. This is somebody who can be supported and ensure that the local manufacturing sector grows. So I find it very hard when a few group of professionals in the engineering sector, for where I come from, that you find very few young people trying to say, hey, we need to ensure that local content is adhered to. We need to ensure that this one is adhered to, so that we promote the local companies, the local institutions that can bring jobs. But the few group of people up there in the professional societies are not seeing that there's a problem. They're very comfortable up there. That said, this movement, it has never been about um, it is not about Ruto. It's about the continuous misperception and poor use of institutional offices. Much I see your hand, I'm winding up. And I find it very hard that very hard to understand why people are keep on saying that we need to amend the constitution. We need the constitution the way it is okay. 47 counties, we just need to ensure that if possible we make sure that Nairobi County become under the national government, but make sure the 47 counties remain as they are, and the constituencies they remain as they are. The thing is, we need to implement the constitution and block all the loopholes. We will end up with a good leadership. We'll end up with good administration. We'll end up having good resources in the county. Why should Mombasa people in Kisumu go for a retreat to benchmark everywhere they are going? They're going to benchmark all the time. These people are going to benchmark. Didn't they study outside the country? I mean, there are people who've studied outside the country. Raila was in Germany, wherever was wherever. Everybody was in different places, apart from Ruto, of course.
Try to land, please. So that
I'm landing.
yeah, thank
So
you.
they have seen things working elsewhere, but they're not trying to do the same thing in the country. Let's promote Dr. Miguna Miguna, Neto, and I've seen a good friend Ndegwa there. Let's push for local content and local manufacturing sector that can provide jobs for our people. And this, I believe that Miguna Miguna have seen it in working in elsewhere in other countries. So I believe that good this talk should continue. In as much as we want changes, I'm an engineer and I don't want David Chirchir to be the Minister for Roads and Transport. Kindly help me push this thing out. My people are not talking, they're quiet. The engineering fraternity, that is. They're not talking, they're quiet. But I'm not comfortable with David Chirchir as the Minister for Roads and Transport. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, go Hillary.
Thank you so much, Ndolo, for that. I imagine Kings don't have anybody on the mic, but let us deal with the people who are here first. Then we know as we winding up. So I think whoever is coming, it is important also to give your last views as we give. Then we give our speakers as we wind up much. So Bazuri, then Rogers, Ndegwa, just hold on. We'll give you a mic. Bazuri.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Hillary. Thank you so much, Maj and Kings, and of course, Daktari, for the wonderful and very insightful conversation that we're having today. Of my condolences to those that have fallen, and of course, quick recovery to those who are recovering in hospitals and other places. Um, Today, as we are trying to have the conversation with the general, I I am with the people that will say Ruto must go, and my reasons for why Ruto must go is that a while back when he realized that country was full of people who were stealing and corrupt and all that, he uttered and said that there are three things involved, right? Either people go to jail, they exile themselves, or go to heaven. And unfortunately, what we have seen when people started helping him, what he said he was going to do, he has started now taking innocent Kenyans to those places. He is abducting young people, some of them, in hospital, some of them in jail, some of them are dead. The three places that he's going to, and some of them, of course, are running away from the country. and those are the places that he said he was going to take them. And therefore, I'm so disappointed, and therefore, I will continue saying Ruto must go. And of course, those who understand what we are talking about, when you talk about Ruto, we are talking about the system, the regime that is so hell bent to do whatever they want to do to make sure that the people continue anguishing and buying fear, whatever. I therefore say we have to continue listening to each other and occupy all places that are allowing these Ruto and regime and the clowns to continue gathering and collecting money that will continue stealing from us. We cannot continue business as usual. We have seen other people, the people that everybody would give us an example of that if you go to this place, this is how they do it. If you go to this place, now those examples have come to fruition, and now we can also do the same. That Ruto must see that the coffee is ready and it is smelling nicely, and he has to do the honorable thing, pack and go. Kenya is not short of leaders, and I believe not only leaders that are there, but leaders of integrity, people who can take this country to a bigger and better place. Because I do not understand why that Mr. Ruto has to continue recycling those failed people that he said they were corrupt, incapable of doing anything. Why is he being held hostage? Anywho, he is, as Dr. said, we cannot continue supporting this government whatsoever. We cannot. I have tried, but I think I cannot. So with that, I want to say thank you so much, Marge, and everybody else who has been in the space talking about this. But we must remain focused, as Dr. has said. It is time or never. It is now or never. Ruto must go. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Marge.
so much, Dr. Fabi, Rogers, Ines, and then Degwa in that order.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I have a few submissions. So the first one is that Ruto must go. So this is how this conversation cannot start with any statement apart from Ruto must go. And actually, Ruto has clearly shown us that he's a careless president. He doesn't care about life, you know. And then today was very arrogant. We had I mean, we had what he said in I don't know, was it Bomet or somewhere. Now, um, another thing that I want us to do is these politicians who are assisting him, his allies. I think for them not to support or rather support the CS that have been reappointed. Let us not allow them to speak anywhere. Anywhere, if you see these politicians anywhere, if they want to speak, let us shut them down and say Ruto must go so that they don't speak anywhere in the public. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rogers, for really keeping the time. Fabish, and then Ines.
Thank you so much ndugu Hilary, dada yetu Maj, ndugu wakili Daktari Miguna, ndugu wakili Ndegwa. I want also to start by saying Ruto must go. And another thing that I want to bring is the attention of the political broker anaitwa the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. I think as we are also championing for Ruto must go, we want also to send a message to Olusegun Obasanjo to stop meddling with the affairs of Kenyan people. The problem of Kenyans can be solved by Kenyans, not other actors. He's a political broker. He's as somebody, not a statesman, somebody with no morals. So tunataka pia hiyo ujumbe ifike kwamba Olusegun Obasanjo must leave the country within 24 hours, and we don't want to anywhere to see him again in our land because we did not invite him, and we don't have any business with him. He don't have any business with us, and we are tired of these political brokers. If you want to talk with Ruto, Ruto is his in-law, amepeana mtoto huko kuolewa. Kama anataka kuongea mambo ya ndoa msichana wao ama hajamaliza kulipa mahari, they can talk elsewhere, but not to meddle with political affairs. So I think this is a message that we should send, and we should retweet that Olusegun Obasanjo should stop and never meddle with Kenyan affairs. Another thing is that Ruto, when we ask him question, anaanza kutuita anarchist, anaanza kutuita, we are telling him that we want him to go. His psycho fans are asking us, where do we want Ruto to go? We want Ruto to go nowhere else but Kamiti prison, because even the Sugoi farm is stolen from someone, and when Ruto go, that land should be reverted back to the owner. The Muteti family should occupy their land that was grabbed. So we want Ruto to go to Kamiti. We are glad we have Wakili Ndegwa. They will do that after Ruto has gone. Watahakikisha kwamba wamemsafirisha Kamiti na shamba ya Sugoi imerudishwa kwa the family of Muteti. Thank you. That is my submission.
Thanks, Fabish. To Olusegun Obasanjo, I actually had retweeted something. As we speak, Nigeria, the constitution of Nigeria does not even give Nigerians enough time to vote. It's shocking. And the population is huge. But we have people flying in, even our ex-president is flying in to go and observe an election where people do not even have time to vote. So by the time they're finishing, the voters are just at the mercy of the people who are helping. You're being told, okay, the time is over, but you can just come in. So that's the status. So I think as we try to meditate, to like negotiate, we should also look at our countries and try to make sure that all is well there. Eins, please.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. 2 minutes, please.
Loud and clear. Okay, so today I'm just going to address something. I'm just going to address the president directly, since he decided to decrease threats to the Generation Z's and the millennials and everyone who was taking part in this protest today. Mr. President, I just want you to know to listen to me real quick. This is something that you must listen to, because you keep on trying to like hide yourself as a religious man, and like you keep on trying to take cover under the guise of the church, which is a very corrupt. So like you've already murdered a lot of people, and you said like you murdered them because, and you said like that you gave us the opportunity to speak and that you wanted to listen. But I want to point out something, that you did not listen until you were out on the streets. Whatever that you said, it's already false. You did not withdraw the bill until people were out there protesting. So claiming that you are a listening president, it's already false. And let me tell you something, that blood requires a recompense. This is something that the preachers in the churches that you go to will never tell you. But let me tell you something right now. The blood that is shed, when you shed an innocent man's blood, it calls out to the Lord. Like in the Bible, when Abel was killed by Cain, the blood kept on calling to God until Cain got what was coming for him. And this is what will happen to you, and to you for all the innocent Kenyans that you've killed. The blood will keep on calling to the Lord, and the God will give you will answer them with their judgment, the judgment that will fall upon you. You will not even believe it. Your case is a case similar to the cases of David and Saul. All Kenyans wanted was for you to humble yourself and come down and listen to them, but you did not. You chose violence. The same thing that Saul chose. And let me just, I think this is, I don't know whether you'll take it as a threat or as a prophecy, but the more blood that you'll shed, your end will be the same like Saul. You will be dethroned from that throne that you think is untouchable. And I ask for all the young Kenyans out there, please do not fear. Please show up for the protests. Let us give him the answer. Let us show him that we are all united and we are not relenting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eins. Yeah. Let's go to Ndegwa Wakili.
Yeah. Thank you very much, host. Thank you very much, Dr. Miguna Miguna, for your submissions, and the submissions that have been delivered ably by all the participants. I only want to address two issues, then one I'll ask Dr. Miguna Miguna to give us some guidance. I want to address the question of collective responsibility in government and most importantly in cabinet. When we called for the resignation of the president, that is Mr. William Ruto, and I begin by saying that Ruto must go and echoing that, he decided to dismiss the cabinet. The dismissal of the cabinet was a wholesale condemnation of their incompetence. Doctor will agree with me that in constitutional law we have the doctrine of Montesquieu, and Montesquieu, the philosopher, speaks about two aspects in a cabinet. He speaks about collective responsibility and he speaks about individual responsibility. So by Mr. William Ruto agreeing to dismiss these individuals, he confirmed our position that they had failed, not as an individual cabinet minister, but as collective cabinet. So for him then to go and try to sever some of them and to sanitize some of them, it's an insult to the revolution. It creates much more anger to the revolution. It confirms that he's taking us for granted. Under collective responsibility condemnation, there cannot be redemption. You cannot redeem individuals who have wholesomely been condemned. And it's on that reason, therefore, that tomorrow we are filing a petition before the High Court for interpretation. Number one, Mr. William Ruto is a very cunning man. He dismissed them wholesomely without processing them through the due process. That is to mean that you cannot simply say or point out why Murkomen was dismissed. You cannot point out why Duale was dismissed. And due to that lack of indictment, because we are not taken through the due process, because the Constitution contemplates under Article 47 that people will be subjected to a process that evaluates them equally under Article 73, 75, and 74 and 75. It presupposes that before you are dismissed, you are taken through the due process. But he denied that process or that opportunity so that then he can go and redeem some of them. In my view, none of them qualifies to be reappointed. None of them qualifies to be redeemed. None of them qualifies to be recycled. On the other aspect, I would wish to ask Dr. to guide us. I have seen in other struggles, for example, the ANC struggle in South Africa, the ZANU-PF struggle in Zimbabwe, the struggle that was in Namibia. I have seen them, and we can give many examples. Even the NRA struggle in Uganda, or SPLM struggle in Southern Sudan. I have seen them at a particular juncture, people going out to other international communities to seek for partnership of individuals who resonates with us. Is it now the time for us to move on and seek people and partners who can resonate with our cause, who can identify with our cause and try to get some partnership? Is it the time that we now start sending out emissaries? It's a fact that we're in a struggle. Mr. William Ruto understands that we're in a struggle. He's creating his defensive mechanisms. Then we also need to create our counter mechanisms. Because I believe that we are all advocating for a non-violent movement. An nonviolent movement that yields and puts substantial pressure on Mr. William Ruto. So I'm just seeking for guidance. Is it the high time that now we start moving towards that direction? Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, comrades in the struggle, we'll hit the High Court. The High Court is very responsive these days so that we can have that process of vetting these crooks halted by the High Court as we await the interpretation. Thank you very much, host. Thank you very much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Let's have yes, please go.
Meg,
Take a go. Yes.
Meg, Meg, this is Neto. I was keeping my voice until when I make the last closing comments, but what Kalindegwa raises are two things that I'd like to clarify. Now, On the first part is this argument about collective responsibility of cabinet. Yes, it's true there's a doctrine of collective responsibility of cabinet, but that collective responsibility is to the extent of the decisions and the unanimity of cabinet. As a member of cabinet, you cannot then excuse yourself or, take yourselves away from the decisions that cabinet has taken. It's not to be interpreted in the manner in which he wants to try and interpret it. But the second thing I'd like to say is that it is true within the meaning of Article 75 of the Constitution, and of course, this is what I'd like him to canvass in High Court tomorrow, and of course, UGM party will also be part of that, is that, given the provisions of Article 75 of the Constitution, it says that, once someone has been has been dismissed from a state office, then they're disqualified from being from holding any office. So of course, it's true that the couple of cabinet secretaries that were earlier on dismissed from cabinet are not qualified to be members of cabinet. But I disagree with him when he tries to say that Article 47 provision of due process was not followed, because again, the president himself, if you look at the Gazette notice, which was dismissing the cabinet secretaries, he writes the reason as to why. He gives there's a ratio. Cabinet was invited to evaluate their performance. They did evaluate their own performance, and he found that with that particular evaluation, they were short of what was supposed to have happened. So in a sense, there was due process, because he's the one who hired them. He set for them the terms, and he found them incapable of being in office. So I just want. Whereas it's true that a couple of the cabinet secretaries that were asked to dismissed cannot qualify to be reappointed, that is also a separate and distinct argument from the doctrine of collective responsibility. So that does not mix the fact that half the cabinet was brought back was because of the doctrine of collective responsibility. Thanks much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Do you want to peg your closing remarks, or was that all, Neto?
I'm happy to make a couple of closing remarks. Therefore, then, so I was going to speak three things in closing. Of course, I agree with Fabish when he says that Olusegun Obasanjo should be paid his balance of the bride price. Then he leaves Kenya alone, so that at least Kenya then becomes a republic that is autonomous. But number one, from the comments that we've seen from the president today and with his actions on Friday, it is definite that we are dealing with a captured president. As to how he's captured or who has captured him, that is what we really need then to distinguish, because he's recycling of people who everyone else has issues with. And in fact, if you'll be surprised at how much corruption, how much how much unqualified, if that's English, this set of 6 or so cabinet secretaries that have been recycled have been subjected to, you'll really be worried. So we're dealing with a captive president, and the best way we can help him is to make him go home and rest, to reflect upon his captivity in a way that sets out the Kenyan people, sort of the Kenyan people. So as we move into this next week, which in my view is the second wave of this particular protest, I really think, number one, we need to make them intense, decisive, and sustained. And with sustained, I really like to borrow what Dr. Miguna has said, that, we don't have to then timetable them. We don't have to roster them in terms of Tuesday or Thursday. If we can get going in a sustained manner for the rest of the weeks, starting Tuesday until this particular president leaves office, then I think that will be a very good thing. The third and the last thing that I'd like to see is with regard to the struggle. And I just want to buttress what General Miguna said, that the struggle must be protracted yet multifaceted. I think a speaker has said very well on the call that there is need to get all hands on deck. When it started before, Gen Zs were really apathetic to the fact that they wanted it to be their own struggle without millennials and Gen Xs. But I really think that we've discovered that everyone else has their play. Gen X, the millennials have their role to play, the veterans have a role to play. Gen Zs could actually be the infantry. They can do all that they were. This is their fight. This is their vision. But I think everyone has a role. Let's just agree in terms of who does what. because it is our country. They've set the agenda. It is about constitutionalism and rule of law. Everyone else needs to find out what they can do in their little space, in their little way. And lastly, is just something that Ndolo said with regard to professional institutions and engineers. I really think that the reason why people prefer professional institutions is because of the two-tier process with which they are able to check the members of their bodies. For example, the LSK or the Engineering Society is able to check their membership in a professional manner. So it provides a two-tier process, but it's not necessarily that the fact that the professionals run better government or are better at governance. It's just the dual advantage that you have. So sometimes you get good lawyers, sometimes you get good engineers, sometimes you get bad lawyers, you get bad engineers as well. But the process of lawmaking, especially the finance bill, there's always many vested interests. And you'll be surprised if at all you followed the debate of the finance bill, the PS Treasury and even the various senior budget people at Treasury were not so sure what was the content of the budget. They were not so sure why they were doing certain levies. So that just shows you that government itself is very opaque, and it does not. We really need to get back Kenya into a place where institutions make sense, institutions matter. You do not have a PS that is supposed to be the one responsible, or the minister that's supposed to be responsible for treasury does not even know the content, does not have the reasons as to why certain levies are being levied. So I really think I agree with you. We must get back our country. We must take Kenya to where it belongs, and it is a role that requires everyone else's hands. Thank you, everyone else, for listening. And I think it was a very good debate tonight. And thank you very much. Looking forward to the next one.
Thanks,
Thanks, Matt.
Neto, and for your submissions, for answering the questions, and for taking your time to be with us. And thanks to everyone also and the listeners. And as we finalize, let's not forget to build the network, follow the host, the co-host, the speakers, look left and right, and follow each other. And especially those people who have small following, please ensure you follow each other. I want you guys to have at least 10,000 so that if you have to share something, we can do. Daktari, I see your hand is up. Please take a go.
Yeah, I would like to make my final submission, please.
That's all right.
Yeah, I wish to happily report to the country that General Olusegun Obasanjo left Kenya yesterday. So I hope he doesn't come back. Maybe he got his last installment of the bride price, like Neto had put it. And to just tail back on what Neto said, um, good leaders do not come from the professions necessarily. Good leaders come from individuals of integrity, no matter what profession. So hopefully, Kenyans are trying to overhaul the system so that they can choose leaders with integrity, built on a people focused institutions and system of government. Um, the idea that if there is an amendment of the constitution, Nairobi should be under the national government is a no go zone. The constitution is very clear. Kenya uh, is governed on two levels, the county level and the national level. If you want to change that, you have to go through a referendum, and Kenyans have to change their system of government. And maybe at the end of the revolution, that will happen, but that should not be our focus right now. Number three, I wish to announce happily also that President Biden of the United States of America has just dropped out of the 2024 presidential race in America. And that's very good news for Kenyans because this is the administration that has been trying to fortify Ruto. Now that Biden is gone, we should send Ruto together with him so that they can go as a couple. But we know for sure that there is no grandmaster at State House who is going to support Ruto, who is going to ensure that they help Ruto divide Kenyans so that he can continue ruling. So we should hail this as a good success, and we should top it up by sending Ruto home. Number three, as I have said repeatedly, this is a collective effort, and we should keep it as such. And because it is a protracted struggle, the idea that Mr. Ndegwa the Wakili gave regarding sending emissaries and whatnot is part of that struggle. We should not just send emissaries. We should send letters and petitions to the International Criminal Court, to all the major administrations of Western governments and organizations, and to be able to alienate, isolate, and weaken the Ruto regime. What they did with the Ford Foundation was actually good for us and counterproductive to them, because at least the Ford Foundation now knows the enemy of Kenyans sit and sleep at the White House. To conclude, as I have said, let us keep this united. Let us work together. Let us avoid sectarian parochialism. Let us stop dividing ourselves and attacking each other. And as Frederick Douglass said, and I will quote another, important thing that he said, because I started with this quote, I want to close with another quote. Frederick Douglass said, "Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, and in Kenya poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe." So, in the Kenyan context, you cannot tell us that you want property to be safe, and yet you are organized in a conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade Kenyans. And you want everybody to be safe, but you are abducting, torturing, and murdering Kenyans. So we have to send a clear message to Ruto. Duplicity, hypocrisy, deception, divide and rule will not work. Let's start it on Tuesday. Let's continue it on Wednesday. If it does not fall on Tuesday, let's continue on a daily basis until Ruto falls. Occupy JKIA, occupy CBD, occupy Parliament, occupy Parliament Square, occupy everywhere. Thank you, comrades. Have a good evening. May God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. for taking time again to come and answer our questions and also to share your wisdom with us. We really appreciate that. And so as we continue now, we're also closing at the top of the hour. We'll have KDR TV and then Gerald Teach do her closing remarks and then we close.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maj, Dr. Miguna, my good friend NATO, and all the listeners. Still having so many problems, and I don't really know exactly how we'll manage go through. My problem or nightmare is about the IEBC. If Wakilindego is still here, you guys, we need you, or we need to work together and ensure that the people who are hounded out of the office, the Cherera 4, should come back to the office so that IEBC can be in a position to recall or reconstitute a snap election if it's called tomorrow. So these people were basically hounded out of the office with fictitious claims. They were hounded out of the office just because the regime which came in saw them as traders or saw them as people who are not really good to be in the office. So the only way they did was to constitute a quasi process, or let me call it a kangaroo court process. Then it was passed very fast in parliament, and then they were out of the office. So these are the people, if we really need to fight justice, I mean, not really fight justice, but if we really need justice, the very best option is for us to ensure these people come back. As a media personality or practitioner, I've received so many petitions, and the very best way possible is just to tell the MPs, tell the lawyers out there that many Kenyans, especially in the diaspora, are really yearning to see these people back in the office so that the process of ensuring that MPs are recalled, or if a snap election is called, because this is the chess card now Ruto is really having under the table, whereby he has to bring back the MPs, he has to buy time, he has to do all he can manage to ensure that he stays back. I mean, he stays in the office. My other problem or concern is about Ruto's regime now brandishing journalists or the media fraternity as calling for anarchy. When we report what is basically happening. We don't report for the government to be happy. But a responsible government is supposed to be seeing or listening to what um, the people on the ground are talking about. Mr. Gachagua has been saying that he's listening to the ground. So if they are listening to the ground, why can't they just act and ensure that whatever is being spoken or whatever is being said in the ground, on the ground, is listened to? Today, when Ruto was in Bomet, it was really a very hectic time for him because people heckled him. The only place where at least he had some good timing or good time is when he was in the church. And the words he spoke in the church, we've really calculated as analysts, we really calculate those words and say, and we are really thinking very much that he's really planning something very bad. You know, if this is somebody who is very genuine and listening to the electorate or listening to Kenyans or the Gen Zs, he could be listening and then acting. But him, again, recycling the people, he himself, by a stroke of pen, said that they were incompetent, and now bringing them back. And he's basically waiting to see what Kenyans are really thinking. And he also is just tricking the opposition, uh, knowing very well that the opposition are not really going to have a consensus. Then he'll just bring back all his cabinet. So there's nothing really much we can discuss with our friend Bwana Ruto. The very best option for him is just to vacate office so that Kenya can continue. It's him calling for anarchy. I've been having so many discussions, especially in the WhatsApp groups for intellectuals. Some of the intellectuals, we call them intellectuals, they don't know which school they went to. What they're telling us or what they are saying out there is completely obvious. So let's forge as a country, let's move forward, let's occupy every part, let's continue being peaceful so that our country can be reverted back to its owners. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and we'll continue this discussion and we'll continue having a wonderful country. Thank you so much. And my request is to Mr. Ndegwa, the lawyer. Can you guys have a petition in
We have
Parliament for the Cherera 4 to come back
okay.
to
We have had
the
and
office? Thank
I saw Daktari was
Yeah,
raising his hand
he wants
to
to chime
to
in.
to,
Yeah,
to,
Daktari
to
over.
chime in
Yeah.
that. Daktari.
Yeah, thank you. Omweri, my friend from KDRTV, Minneapolis. Let me answer you. Number one, it would be duplicitous and hypocritical for us to say Ruto should not bring back the ministers that he fired, but then we claim that the IBC commissioners that were fired should be brought back. We will be shooting ourselves in the foot. We cannot do that. Revolutionaries don't do that. We know that the IBC as a whole is rotten and should be overhauled together with the entire political architecture of the country. You cannot pick and choose. If it is rotten from top to bottom and you want to uproot it entirely. You cannot leave some parts of it. So, no, I, for one, will say the Cherera 4 go and probably should even be prosecuted because some of the things that they did amount to illegalities. The Supreme Court spoke already, and we cannot overrule the findings of the Supreme Court if we are going to be a people governed by the rule of law. So I wouldn't encourage that. We are focused on Ruto. Anything that takes our attention to anything else is a diversionary strategy. Our focus should be on Ruto and his regime. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Dr. Harry. And actually, this topic comes handy. Every Thursday, I host spaces also. And the Cherera 4 will be coming in, but just to share their mind, not that anyone is vouching for them. We need to hear also from them. But after that, of course, Miguna has shared his opinion. We let Ndegwa share his opinion, and then Teach will close. But I'd like to clarify that next week when they come, they're just coming to share what happened from their point of view, because they were not given enough time to speak. And after that, of course, everyone else will share as they see. And Degra?
Although, Maj,
Yeah, yeah.
there was a court process and they had lawyers in court, so we know
Okay.
what they said.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm looking forward to that session, guys. You come and I'll just be moderating that because it seems like you guys have a lot of info on that. Ndegwa, please, and then Gerotich.
Yeah, thank you. I cannot agree more with what Dr. has submitted, that we cannot start looking for the best orange in a rotten bag. We must understand that the IBC Act is now in force, and there is a mechanism that has been proposed for selecting the commissioners. What we are called to do as revolutionaries, because it's important for us and imperative for us to have the commission in place for the completion of the democratic cycle, is to make sure that the panelists who are going to be selected to go and interview the commissioners are men and women who are beyond reproach. So there are guys that we must look at critically and see whether they will be sellouts or whether they are going to stand and defend our democracy. Number two, we should not just focus on the commissioners alone, but even the secretariat of the IBC that survives the commissioners is rotten to the core. So we're simply saying that even the secretariat itself must be reviewed. We must look at the credibility of the individuals who are currently holding office in the secretariat, because it's pointless for us to refresh the commissioners and leave a rotten engine, because the commission's engine rests with the secretariat. So even the secretariat, we must focus on it to make sure that we have also reformed it. We have gotten people that we can trust. We have gotten people who are patriotic enough and committed to the democratic principles of this country. Thank you very much, Dr. Ari.
Thanks so much, Wakili. Gerotich, over to you as we close.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This has been such an enlightening space. Now, I just want to end by saying we're dealing with an unapologetic, dangerous, and Nero-like president who would burn Rome and blame Gen Z, just as Nero did the early Christians. He advises himself and is convinced that he will bend us to his will. And you know, his agenda is the consolidation of economic supremacy. Political dominance and survival is the means to that end. I just want to share that there is a deeper awakening happening, and we are all recognizing this. Let us build on this irreverence, this deplatforming of sacrosanct figures, and let us do it with utter fearlessness. I take note of some of the phenomenal spaces, including one that is, and by the way, you should all follow it as well, that is forensically tracking the incredible depths of corruption and structured poverty in the extractive areas of mining and conservation. This is beautiful to watch. This is absolutely Gen Z led and amplifies the voices of so many, including Dr. Mordecai Ogada, Professor Wandia Njoya, and the errant natives at large. You know, revolution is no longer needing to take decades. Yeah, it'll take longer than 1 month, but it is coming, and it is coming fast and hard at us. Let us all meet on Tuesday. I certainly will be there. Will you? And we keep saying Ruto must go. So with that, I say viva and aluta continua.
Thank you so much, Dorotich. I would like to thank everyone for coming. And of course, I don't have much to say for closing. As closing remarks, you've said all that needed to be said. I just wanted to remind, of course, it's going to be a very interesting space. Terry, do you want to say something? Your mic is on.
No. I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
So I'm just reminding of the space next week, Thursday, that we're going to bring on board the Chirera 4. And my position is just sharing, giving the platform like I do give a platform now. And if you want to chime in, come on board. And so Hillary, kindly close. Or Kinsman, just some minutes, then Hillary, and then we close. It's been centuries here.
I think much has been said, and I agree with most of the speakers that have come before us. Mine is just to remind people that there is no section of Ruto that is good. He is not willing at all to meet Kenyans halfway in whichever way that we want. If you just look from the Office of the Auditor's General Report, in terms of even the odious debt that we've been paying, you saw that they wrote letters asking for statements for the repayments that we've been done when the loans were given going back to 2010. Out of the 39 lenders that we have on record, only 26 responded. So meaning the others that the government is paying are not even known. There's a loan of 4 billion that Kenya has been paying since 2010, and it's actually yeah, we finished paying it long time ago, and it's still in our books that is a law that. So there is so much that is wrong with this country, with this regime, and the only way that we are gonna redeem back our country is to just ensure that Ruto must go. Thank you so much, Hillary.
Okay, thanks so much, Kingsman. Thanks so much, Maj, for coordinating the meeting and also the forum. And our speakers, Daktari, thank you so much, Neto, Jerosich, and Mkwasi, Daktari, thank you so much for joining. And everybody else who has been in this space. We are setting another one soon. Maybe we're going to coordinate that. And also, I want to caution this. And Daktari said it very clearly that let us be very careful, because I've heard that some people are asking money. Let nobody give out the money in our name. If there's that thing will come, we will try to put a space. We'll do that, and it will be clear, and everything will be clear. We don't want our name to be tempted with oh, we send money somewhere. No. If you're sending as an individual, not as a group. If there's anything that will come, we'll come to this space again. We'll talk and we'll agree on the decision and who is taking it, or anything that the support that you want to give. As you give the any support, know that you're giving as individual, not as this group. So this group will have a very organized plan, a way of doing it, and we'll give that information so that it go outside there. We don't want anybody to come with a name. Oh, we came to the space and then we give out something to support. We don't want to do that. If the support will come from this group, we are gonna do that, and we're gonna announce it clearly. Otherwise, thank you so much. Follow each other and the last round as we're winding up, and we thank you so much. We have been here more than 4 hours today. We are very sorry about that, but next time keep an eye, because soon we're gonna set another space coming soon. Thank you so much. God bless you. Keep it alive on the pressure point all the time. Thank you. Bye.